It's been 12 months since acquittal, and so much has passed us by. Such a scattering with evidence, and some blatant flat-out lies. There's a special new press sector, and Hank Breeden is his name. He is a dirty Boston lawyer, and his arguments are lame. He's trying to squash all of our experts, as he has no case to claim. He should have won an Oscar medal to convince the court he's sane. He can lie without a conscience and keep that smirk upon his face. I bet he wears those silky undies, the ones with edging made of lace. And Judge Beverly Academy is so biased for the state, is wading through 100 motions in a rush to seal my fate. So you can bring in Massachusetts, cause we all ain't got no quit. And we all know that the truth is my car is not the thing John hit.
Yeah, so bring it, Massachusetts. Bring it. Bring it all the way. On Tuesday. That's the day. Welcome. We have a date. Officially hearsay from a good source. But nonetheless, we have a date. Next Tuesday. And don't say, see you next Tuesday. Next Tuesday's the date, okay? Trial 2.0. Yeah. I bet you can't. I bet you can't. Yes. Sorry, Teresa. It's all KR from here until probably end of May. Yeah. Sorry. But I'll make it fun, I promise. I will make it fun. Stupid thing keeps telling me to put a link. No, I don't want to share a referral link. Bugger off. StreamYard. Stupid thing. I don't even know how to get that off. It was buggering me last night. I couldn't see the last message in the last comment. Right. So now trying to coordinate through 3 continents a suitable time frame for a planning meeting is not the easiest of tasks. Oh, look, there's one. Speak of the devil. Steve's just gone live. Because it's what, 9:30 over there. Christ knows what time it is in London. And then you try and coordinate it between their streaming times and their school pickup times. And so my plan, I'm hoping to do a stream Monday with all of us, just to pretty much recap where we've been, go over briefly some of the motions and where we're at, introduce ourselves to everyone more than anything, and then we're right and set, ready to go. It'll be a good chance to test all the IT and stuff, make sure that's all twerked and tweaked and primped and preened and primed and ready to go. I'm sure we'll have some fuck-ups anyway, but whatever. So, yes, now is a good time in London, and now is a good time for me. But Steve will be doing 9:30. He might just be coming back from school pickups. Plus, we're both streaming. So, yeah. I might see if I can do it Saturday. I'll work it out. Anywho. So, yes, I was going to try and do that stream Monday. I haven't heard back from anyone yet. So wait until you see thumbnails before you make any plans. But after Tuesday, like Tuesday from then on, clear your diaries. That's it. It's happening. So we're up to day 11 of the first trial. That gives me how many days? 3 days. All right. I'm going to have to run back to back, aren't I? Never mind. We'll get there. So I am going to start this show off right here. And then Frank and I go to the bedroom. I've done a bit of rearranging and I'm hoping that it's a lot more organised. Yeah. And workable, because last night I just had shit everywhere. I had cables and I just can't cope. Can't cope. Has to be organised. So we have rekerfuffled today. And I need to test it out to make sure it's a workable thing. Alrighty. So let's get into it, shall we? Now, which one is that one? Yes, there we go. Hello, Karen. How you doing? And okay. Oh, today we have the cross-examination of Caitlin Albert, Tristin Norris, her boyfriend, Sarah Levinson, and Julie Nagel testifying. And you don't have any volume there because it's the court.
Sure.
Good morning, Ms. Albert.
Good morning.
Ms. Albert, I'd like to go back to a discussion of Katie McLaughlin.
Okay.
Yesterday, I asked you a 4-word question, and that question was, who
Right, can you all hear that properly? The sound is okay?
is Katie McLaughlin? Do you recall that question?
I do.
You would agree with me that your response was not, she's a firefighter.
Correct.
Your response was not, she's a friend.
Correct.
Your response was
Beauty.
not, I've known her for years.
Well, I sort of alluded to that when I said that I've known her since high school.
Right. Your response was that she was somebody that you knew in high school, correct?
I said that I went to high school with her and she's my same age. We graduated the same year.
Right.
Yes.
So you referenced high school, correct?
Yes.
All right. You would agree with me that you've seen her several times since high school, correct?
Yes.
You have hung out in the same group with her several times
Oh,
since high school,
Lord,
correct?
you've
Yes.
hung it up the
And
same
you graduated
group.
high school in 2014.
Yes.
It is now 2024.
Yes.
Your contact with Katie McLaughlin has been fairly consistent over the years in that it continued at least until 2021, correct?
At least.
I would agree with that, although it was far and few between. But
Is that
throughout the
because-
years, yes.
Do you say that because the photographs are far and few between?
Objection.
This is me.
You would agree with me that there was not a 3-year period prior to January 29th of 2022 where you didn't see Katie McLaughlin at all, correct?
A 3-year period?
Right.
I can't say 100% yes to that, but I wouldn't be surprised if I had seen her at some point in time over the past couple of years and before John O'Keefe's passing. Yeah.
Seen her a couple of times, does that mean that maybe you bumped into her and said hello?
It would mean that we would be in the same place at the same time, not something that I reached out and invited her to in any way, shape, or form. But, you know, again, we have mutual friends. So I would not be surprised if I went somewhere and she happened to be there as well.
Okay. And it would have been a surprise to you that she showed up at whatever place you were at in those 3 years? Is that your testimony?
No, it would not have been a surprise to me.
You would have known in advance that Katie McLaughlin was going to be at the same place that you were in advance.
Not necessarily, but
Ever in those 3 years?
Objection.
Isn't it true that only 8 months before January 29th of 2022, you and Katie McLaughlin were at a baby shower together?
Objection.
Oh,
do you know that? Yes. Go ahead and answer. Yes, we did.
You were. Whose baby shower?
did you get any of the mowing done at all?
Was it?
It was a mutual friend of ours.
What's her name?
Her name's Alyssa.
And how many people were at that baby shower?
I can't say for sure. I mean, it was Alyssa's family
All right.
and a bunch of friends. I can't put a number on it.
The friends all gathered together and took a photo together with the woman having the baby shower, correct?
Objection.
Was
there a photo taken? I believe so.
You were in that photo, correct?
Yes.
Who was standing next to you?
I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, if you saw the photo, would that refresh your memory?
Yeah.
May I approach?
You think?
I'm showing you what has been marked.
show it.
Sorry, I was just going to identify it as S for identification for the record, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm showing you what's been marked S. Could you take a look at that and look up at me when you're done? May I approach?
Yes.
Having reviewed that photograph, Ms. Albert,
Uh-huh.
who is standing next to you?
One of my friends is on the left of me and Katie McLaughlin is on the right of me.
She's right next to you in that photo, correct?
Yes, she is.
That was in June of 20.
That's why I had to finish what I was doing today to get this bedroom set up, because you're giving me the shits.
2021, correct?
Yes.
So if somebody testified that you hadn't seen each other in 3 years prior to January 29th of 2022, that would be wrong, right?
Objection.
Dan.
And with regard to the contact that you've had with her in terms of group events, you would agree with me that it wasn't just day trips that you took with her, correct?
Correct.
You've also gone on road trips with her, correct?
I've gone away on trips that she was with. I didn't drive with her or go with her or invite her, but she has been there, yeah.
Okay, and what road trips have you taken overnight where you and Katie McLaughlin have been together since high school?
Objection.
Sustain.
You've gone to Maine with Katie McLaughlin, have you not?
Objection.
So we need a time frame, Mr. Yannetti, not just
Sure.
10 years ago.
Since high school, you've gone to Maine with Katie McLaughlin, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Did you go to Maine with her? I did, and the year would have been like 2015 or 2016.
If I suggested it was July of 2016, would that make sense?
That would sound about right, yeah.
And while you were in Maine, there were 7 of you in a hot tub together, correct?
Objection.
Sustain.
You were in a hot tub with Katie McLaughlin in Maine, correct?
Objection.
Dirty bitch.
Sustain.
Let me approach you, Honor.
Yes.
So, McAlbert's get a little bit kinky, huh? Don't surprise me. Been there, done that. Where's my stapler? I'm going to plow through the conversion times and world times on a suitable or something suitable for all of us. I'm glad that
You'd mentioned that you'd been to Maine with Katie McLaughlin in 2016. Where was it in Maine?
I'm not sure the exact town.
Right. Probably 4 hours away.
I'm not sure how long it took to get up there.
It wasn't 10 minutes away.
No.
Right? And it wasn't a half hour.
No.
All right. It was more than 2 hours, correct?
Maybe.
And you drove, correct?
Yes.
How many days did you spend in Maine?
I'm not sure. Maybe 2.
All right. So you were up in Maine over a weekend?
Yep.
With Katie McLaughlin, correct?
Yes, as well as a bunch of other friends.
Oh, of course. But the answer to my question is you were with Katie McLaughlin, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
How many times have the 2 of you been to the beach together since high school?
Objection.
Do you know? If you can answer that, go ahead and answer.
I know that we have been to a beach together, but I don't know how many times. I could guess.
Don't guess.
Okay.
Next question, Mr.
You
Yannetti.
said a beach. Does that mean that the 2 of you only go to one particular beach?
No,
It's
You've
such
gone
a
to
start
multiple
out.
beaches with Katie McLaughlin, correct?
not that I can remember. I can't remember how many times. I have one memory, but I can't say for sure how many times I've been to a beach with Katie McLaughlin.
If I showed you a photograph of the 2 of you on a beach together in bikinis, would that refresh your memory?
Objection.
Mr. Yannetti, you can show her a photograph.
Thank you. Let me approach.
Yes.
Again, I'm showing you S for identification, one particular photo in S. If you take a look at that and look up at me when you're done. Does that refresh your memory?
Yep.
Mhm.
That particular photo that I showed you from S for identification, what beach was that?
Why does everyone?
I don't know the
They
name
all
of
have
the
to be
beach.
cagey.
Where was it?
They're cagey.
I believe somewhere in the Cape.
And Katie McLaughlin is in that photo, correct?
Yes, along with a bunch of other friends.
Of course, there are other friends. But you,
Miss Tianetti, please no more, of course.
of course, you're on. With regard to that photo, once again, you are right next to Katie McLaughlin. Were you not right in back of her?
She's in front of me, yes. And the mutual friends that I already said that we have are also in the photo.
Of course. Let me ask you this.
Of course.
So, jurors, I'm going to strike that, of course.
Has anybody in this courtroom today asked you about the other mutual friends who were there? Did I ask you today whether there were other mutual friends in that photo?
Objection.
Sustained.
You added that to your answer, correct?
Objection.
Can you answer that?
Yes.
Who were your college roommates?
Objection.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Who were your college roommates?
Yeah, it's sustained.
How many college roommates
Why
did you
can't I
have?
ask that?
Objection.
Sustained.
Oh my God.
Fair to say that Katie McLaughlin has been with you and your college roommates.
Yes.
When was that?
2015, 2016.
And there were two college roommates that you and Katie McLaughlin were with, correct?
I had multiple college roommates at that time, and two of them were the mutual friend that Katie and I share.
And in fact, there was an occasion where you were in a kitchen with your two college roommates and one other person, correct?
Objection.
Need a time frame or something, Miss Tianetti?
Or that was around 2016, was it not?
That sounds about right, yes.
And do you recall which college roommates they were?
Objection.
Sustained.
And someone took a photo of you, your two college roommates, and one other person, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
In
Oh my
2016.
God.
Objection.
Sustained.
It's going to object to everything. Yeah.
May we approach?
Okay.
Yep. Yep. If it was honesty requires a yes/no answer. It doesn't require caginess. It doesn't require additional information. It doesn't require yes, but. And they're all cagey, all of them, especially Jennifer McCabe. I can't stand her. She looks like a ferret. Said that out loud. Oops, my bad. All right. Well, whilst they're sidebarring, I'm gonna head down and check out the boudoir and see what my camera settings are like down there. Yeah, pregnant pause. At least we got a bit of a giggle out of the old Bevster. Of course, Your Honour. Yes. I think, you know what? That's half the problem. She doesn't have any control of the courtroom, or much control. And I think she's allowing Brennan to almost bully her, type of thing. That makes sense. I don't know. I just hope it's a fair trial. That's all I want, you know. And at the moment, it ain't shaping up to be, especially given that I found out today that Brennan is saving the so-called dog expert for rebuttal, which worries me. Because rebuttal is the last thing the jury hears. And this is the guy that he's put forward as an expert, which was heavily contested. Yeah. And rebuttal, it's almost like an ambush at the end. You don't get to know what he's got to testify. And you don't get a chance
Yes.
to come back at it. So you can't cross-examine him.
I'm showing you another photo from S for identification,
Gary.
ma'am. If you look at that and look up
Yeah,
to me when you're
exactly.
done.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. These people, they all act like this. If they were just being upfront and honest, it would just be straightforward. Yes, no, not a problem. Haven't got any issues. Nothing to hide. Yep. None of this BS. It should just come naturally.
Who's in that photo?
Have to think about it.
Myself, 2 of my college roommates, and Katie McLaughlin.
Okay. So Katie McLaughlin's the only one in that photo who's not one of your roommates, correct?
Yes.
And was this a situation where she just showed up unexpectedly like all the other times? You had no idea she was going to be there?
Objection.
Ask the question differently. That it's sustained in that form.
Thank you, Ronna. Did you expect
The blink
By the way,
grape.
whose
What's the
kitchen
blink
is that?
grape? And
It
the
was
mouth.
the college house that I lived in.
Mouth.
your kitchen?
The house we were renting, yes.
You lived in that kitchen,
Yes.
and Katie McLaughlin's in your
Pardon?
kitchen, correct?
Yes.
Who invited Katie that day?
The 2 mutual friends that I lived with.
Okay. Certainly, you didn't invite Katie, correct?
I did not.
Because you're not close friends with her at all, correct?
I am not.
In fact, you don't really like her very much, do you?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Mouth again.
You guys were teammates on the track and cross country team back in high school, correct?
I don't recall that, actually. We could have been. I'm not sure.
I may approach?
Yes.
Mouth again. Hello,
Once again,
hello,
please,
hello,
ask for
Miss Lola's
identification
mum.
before-
How you going? I know. You calling it too? Yeah. Hang on, where is it? I've got one especially for that. Where is it? Right there. Yep. I've got some good ones for the trial. Yep. You'll have to stick around for that one because it's going to be, well, it's going to go off for a start, but I think it's going to be a good crew, a good stream with the 3 of us. Just saying.
For you, ma'am. If you look at the first page and then the second page,
Oh, and I've lost my overlay. I like this one. Yep.
Yes.
having reviewed those 2 pages, does that refresh your memory about your teammate, Katie McLaughlin?
Yes, it
I
does.
cracked myself
And you
up.
certainly were teammates in high school, correct?
Yes.
And you would agree with me that that relationship continued in terms of your contact with her all the way up through 2021, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would offer the photos.
They're done. They're done. Jury selection is done. And yeah, no, I haven't been watching it, but it's done. They've got 16. It starts Tuesday. I'm going to try and do a Monday catch up, just recap. And I really, really, really want to test this database analysis tool. So I've put so much work into it. It's one of those interactive things where I've downloaded every transcript from the entire trial of the first trial, and you get to ask it any question you want, and it will give you an answer based on facts and evidence presented at trial. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And every day from trial 2, I will be uploading each transcript again, and we can compare the testimonies from each of the witnesses that have testified in both, and it'll tell us what is different, what has changed, all sorts of stuff. It's amazing. I didn't want to be for the price, let me tell you, but it's going to be awesome.
That are in S for identification as full exhibits in this trial at this point.
Objection.
The objection sustained. You should put those back up with the clerk, Ms. Giannetti.
Oh, yes. The doctor that killed his wife. Yeah.
Now, you testified that you knew Brian Higgins prior to January 29th of 2022, correct?
Yes.
You knew him as a good friend of your father's, correct?
Yes.
Hey,
He
Christine,
arrived at
you
34
down, darling?
Fairview Road, your parents' home, on January 29th of 2022, after you got there, correct?
Again,
You have to update us.
yes, because me and my parents were the first ones inside from what I remember.
Did you see what Brian Higgins drove to get there?
I did not.
You did not see where he parked his vehicle.
I did not.
At some point, you saw him inside the home, correct?
Yes.
And he made it into the kitchen and dining room area where you were, correct?
Yes.
You agree that at some point, Brian Higgins and your father, Brian Albert, left that area to go to another room, correct?
Yes.
So it's fair to say there was at least some portion of the night when Brian Higgins and your father were out of your field of vision, correct?
I don't agree with that because the room that I had seen them go into has an open doorway and you can see right into the family room that they were in.
Bullshit.
So I could actually see them in there.
Gotcha.
Bullshit.
How long were you there
They were
when
downstairs.
Brian Higgins and your father, Brian Albert, were there?
Inside the family room?
I'm talking from that whole night. When you're at 34 Fairview,
Mhm.
how much time lapsed between the time you first saw Brian Higgins and Brian Higgins left the residence?
I can't say for sure. If I had to estimate, I'd say an hour and a half.
Okay, and so your testimony before this jury is for that full hour and a half, there was no time when Brian Higgins and your father, Brian Albert, were out of your field of vision.
Not that I can remember.
Now, earlier that evening on Friday, January 28th, you made plans to go out with your mom, Nicole Albert, your aunt, Julie Albert, and your boyfriend, Tristan Morris, correct?
Yes.
From the beginning of that night, the plan was for Tristan to go home early, correct?
Yes.
And that was because he had to get up early to plow or shovel, correct?
Yes.
He had to get up really early, correct?
Yes.
The plan was for him to shovel or plow at 3 a.m.?
He was, from what I recall, he was on standby for like 3. It could have been any time after that.
Oh, I see. So it could have been that he had to get up at 3 or maybe a little bit later, correct?
Yes.
And it was for that reason that when he was at the waterfall with you, he only had a couple of drinks, correct?
From what I remember, yes.
And from the beginning of the night, you knew that it was going to be iffy as to whether he would be able to get much sleep at all, correct?
It wasn't really something we discussed.
Well, the reason
One
he was
look at
going
you,
home
and I
early
know that you are an idiot.
and only having a couple of drinks was to see if he could catch some sleep before what would be a very difficult work morning, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that in order for him to get any sleep, he couldn't stay at the waterfall very long, correct?
Yes.
And that's why he left early.
Yes. He went home to rest. We didn't speak about whether or not he would be
Keep us
sleeping.
It would
updated.
shock you if he tried to go to sleep.
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't.
You stayed believing that Tristan was going to try and rest and sleep, correct?
Yes.
And the plan when he left you was that you wouldn't see him again until after he was done with his plowing that morning, correct?
That's incorrect.
Okay. So is it your testimony that the plan from the beginning was that Tristan was going to drive from Canton to Easton and get some rest, and then drive from Easton to Canton to pick you up so that he could take you back from Canton to Easton? That was the plan?
It may not have been set in stone, but it was definitely spoken about. And then that's what ended up happening. Yes.
Have you ever told anyone that before, Ms. Albert, that the plan from the start of the night was that Tristan was going to make 4 trips total from Canton to Easton, Easton to Canton, Canton to Easton? Have you ever told anyone that before?
I don't remember if I mentioned that to anybody.
That was the first time you've ever said that just now before this jury. Would you agree with that?
I believe so.
Almost 2.5 years after January 29th, correct?
Correct.
All right, I'm going to the boudoir. I'll be back.
Isn't it true that you decided at 1:45 in the morning that it was important for you to get home?
At 1:45, around that time is when Tristan picked me up. a little bit after that, but I didn't want to get snowed in at my parents' house.
It was important for you to leave 34 Fairview, correct?
I wouldn't say important, but it was something that I wanted to do.
It was
Yes.
important enough for you to leave, correct?
Yes.
And you made the decision to have Tristan drive from Easton to Canton to pick you up, correct?
Yes.
How far is it from Easton to Canton?
From our apartment in Easton to 34 Fairview Road is about 18, 19 minutes.
Okay, and that's when there's not a snowstorm on site, correct?
Correct.
Of course, in a major snowstorm, you certainly can't drive as carefree as you can when you're driving in good road conditions, correct?
Right.
And your boyfriend was making that trip multiple times that night, correct?
Yes.
When Tristan picked you up at 1:45 a.m., did you bring Chloe out of the house with you to take to your apartment?
No.
Okay. On January 29th of 2022, you were there at your parents' house from around midnight until about 1:45?
About a little bit after 1:45. Yes.
Okay, and during that span of time, almost 2 hours, you never saw anyone pull up outside, correct?
I personally did not.
No. And you personally did not look out the window either, correct?
No, I did not.
And you personally never heard anything out of the ordinary outside, correct?
That is correct.
Right. You never heard any yelling, correct?
That is correct.
No screaming,
Correct.
nothing smashing into anything else,
Correct.
no revving of tires,
Correct.
no noises outside,
Correct.
nothing attracted your attention.
Correct.
You never saw any vehicle backup lights.
Correct.
You never saw any red lights outside.
Correct.
You heard zero evidence of anything that would lead you to conclude that there had been some type of car accident outside.
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it differently, Ms. Giannetti.
You didn't hear a car accident.
Objection.
Ask it differently.
When you left 34 Fairview at 1:45, which door did you use?
I think I walked out the front door.
And the front door, could I have exhibit 66, Mr. Bates? With the court's permission, may that be
Sure.
displayed? Do you recognize exhibit 66 as being a depiction of your house?
Yes.
The front door to your home, there are actually two of them, correct?
Yes.
And but when you say the front door, you're referring to the door that's lit up in that photo?
Yes.
You can take that off the screen. I'd like to ask you some questions about what you saw or didn't see within the first couple of seconds while you were stepping outside. Coming out the front door of your house, you would agree with me that your parents' front lawn is directly in front of you, correct?
Yes.
By that time, snow had started to accumulate at 1:45 a.m., correct?
Yes.
Against that white snow, did you see a black baseball cap?
I did not.
As you stepped out of the house, did you see a black sneaker?
I did not.
Did you see 45 pieces of red taillight plastic?
I did not.
No. Did you see one piece of red taillight plastic?
I did not.
Did you see a 6'2" man on your parents' front lawn in front of you?
Objection.
Did you?
I did not.
You saw nothing unusual on that front lawn of your parents' home, did you?
I did not.
Now, Tristan had parked in the driveway, correct?
I believe so.
When I say Tristan, I'm referring to Tristan Morris, who was your boyfriend, right?
Yes.
As you face the house, that driveway is to the right, correct?
Yes.
And as you're coming out of the house, the driveway is to the left, which makes sense, right?
Yes.
Where in the driveway was Tristan Morris parked?
Don't remember if he was on the left. My guess would be the left side of the driveway because that would have been closest to me walking out of the house. But I can't say for sure exactly where he was parked in the driveway.
Okay. In any case, you walked to his vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And actually, when I say his vehicle, it was actually your vehicle, right?
Correct.
That was the Jeep that you had at that time?
Yes.
And as you were walking to that vehicle, you would agree with me there were no obstructions between you and your parents' front lawn, correct?
Correct.
And as you were walking to that vehicle, again, no baseball hat, no sneaker, no pieces of red taillight, and no 6'2" man did you see on your parents' front lawn, correct?
Correct.
And there were no, strike that. After you got into the vehicle, you got into the passenger's side
Yes.
because you had been drinking that night, correct?
Yes.
And it wouldn't have made sense for you to drive home to Easton, correct?
Correct.
So Tristan Morris backed your Jeep out of the driveway, correct?
Yes.
And the tail end of that Jeep, when he backed out, would have gone toward Cedar Crest, correct?
Correct.
Which would mean that the car was now facing toward the Chapman Street side, correct?
Yes.
And that would mean that your Jeep, being driven by Tristan, would have driven directly by your parents' full property line, correct?
Correct.
And you were on the passenger's side of the car, correct?
Correct.
The passenger side was closest to your parents' front lawn as you were driving away, correct?
Yes.
And you drove past the front lawn, correct?
Yes.
You drove past the flagpole, correct?
Yes.
And in all that time from when Tristan Morris pulled out of the driveway and drove right by your parents' front lawn, you never saw anything of the things that I previously asked you about, correct?
I did not, but I also was not looking.
You saw no baseball hat, no sneaker, no pieces of red plastic, and no 6'2" man, correct?
Correct, but I also was not looking out my window.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Did anybody in this courtroom ask you if you were looking out your window?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
That was an answer to a question that nobody asked you, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Now, at this point, you would agree with me that you've essentially circled your parents' front lawn, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you came out the front door and were facing the front lawn, correct?
Correct.
Then you're walking to the left, which means that the front lawn is to your right, correct?
Correct.
Then you're backing up out of the driveway, which means the front lawn is still to your left, correct?
Correct.
And when Tristan pulls the car such that when Tristan Morris pulls the car such that the car is now operating parallel to your front lawn, now the front lawn's to your right, correct?
Correct.
And with regard to all of that time that you were circling that front lawn, you never saw anybody or anything out of the ordinary on that lawn, correct?
I did not.
And you also didn't see any tire tracks in the snow, did you?
Not that I can remember.
I'll have a moment.
Yes.
No further questions, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Lally?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Now, turning your attention back to yesterday, you were asking questions about Courtney Proctor, is that right?
Yes.
And you were asked about whether or not you met her kids, and you said once. Can you explain that?
From what I can remember, I forget exactly where I was, but my aunt, Julie Albert, had pulled up in her car and I was talking to her, and she had the 2 kids in her back seat. I think she may have been babysitting them. I didn't ask for specifics, but she rolled down the back window and that's when I met the 2 kids, and that was it.
Okay, well, how many years ago was that?
I can't say for sure, but definitely like 2 or 3 years ago, maybe.
The one time while they were in the backseat of a car for a couple minutes years ago.
Yes.
Had you ever met Michael Proctor prior to the day that he came in, or that he conducted an interview with you?
Never.
Now, as you were walking into the house, your testimony is that you saw Colin Albert walking out of the house. Is that correct?
Correct.
Without getting too much into it, as far as photographs of you on a high school track team, that would have been sometime prior to your graduation in 2014, correct?
Yes.
About how many people were on your track team?
Over 30, maybe. About 30.
Now, when you were at the house at 54 Fairview Road on the early morning of the 29th, your father, Ryan Albert, and Ryan Higgins were out of the room, being the kitchen and the dining area, for some period of time, correct?
Correct.
And about how long period of time are we talking about?
Minutes. I would say at most, maybe like 5 minutes. At most.
Now, you were shown a drawing, essentially, in Exhibit 66 of your parents' house at 34 Fairview Road, up on the screen just now.
Yes.
Have you ever seen that before?
That exact photo? I don't believe so.
Do you know whether or not that was even a photo, or would you be surprised if that was some sort of drawing or rendering of the house?
Yeah, I can't say for sure where that came from or what it is. I don't believe I've seen it before. Could you rephrase the question? Sorry.
That's fine. My other question is, did you happen to notice in that particular drawing that there were lights on near the front door and lights on near the garage? Do you recall that?
I did notice that, yes.
Do you recall whether or not those lights were on, or those lights even exist at the time that you were exiting the house on January 28th?
I don't recall. I can't say for sure if those lights were on.
Now, you were asking questions about exiting the house and coming over to Tristan's car, getting in, your car that Tristan was driving, and then backing out of the driveway and driving away. At any point in time, did you look over to the unlit area on the left side of your parents' property near the flagpole?
Objection.
Form the question differently, Mr. Lally.
When you walked out the front door, where was your attention directed?
When I walked out the front door, I recall somewhat looking down, trying to make sure I didn't slip. The ground was completely covered with snow at that point. and then my direction was towards Tristan's car, so to the left. Then once I got in the car, I was turned again to the left, speaking with him for the majority of the first couple minutes of our car ride back home to Easton.
Now, so when you exit the door, you come onto the brick steps, correct?
Yes.
And brick steps are covered in snow at that point?
Yes.
Do you recall what you were wearing on your feet? Were they high heels, flats?
I think I had high heel like boots on, something of that nature.
You're walking down the brick steps that are covered in snow in high heel boots, correct?
Yes.
And then you're walking over to your car and getting in the passenger side, correct?
Yes.
And at any point in time, at any point in time in any of the sequence, did you have any reason to look over to the front yard area of your parents' home in the area of the platform?
I did not.
And then you get in the car and you're driving away and you're talking to Tristan, is that correct?
Yes.
And so Tristan is driving, you're in the passenger seat, is that correct?
Yes.
So you're looking at him, but away from the front lawn as you're driving away, correct?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Very briefly, Judge.
Okay.
Maybe you just testified that the one time that you saw Courtney Proctor's kids, they were with your aunt Julie Albert, correct?
Yes.
Unmute
And
Jody.
you just testified that that was about 2 or 3 years ago, correct?
Dipshit.
That was an estimate. I can't say for sure, but yes.
It wasn't 10 years ago.
No.
2 or 3 years ago, right now it's May 14th of 2024. 2 years ago would be May 14th of 2022.
Yes.
3 years ago would have been May 14th of 2021, correct?
Correct.
Nothing further.
Okay, you are all set, Ms. Albert.
Thank you.
Mr. Lally, who is your next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The Commonwealth will call Mr. Tristan Morris to the stand.
All right, can you all hear me?
Watch your step right there.
Yep. You solemnly swear the evidence in the court
This is Tristan Norris,
I do.
the boyfriend.
Okay, whenever you are ready, Mr. Lally. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name, please?
Tristan Morris, Morris,
And Mr. Morris, where do you live?
Easton,
And who, if anyone, do you live there with?
Caitlin Albert.
And what is the nature of your relationship with Caitlin?
She's my girlfriend.
And how long have the two of you been together?
Roughly 8 years.
And with respect, well, let me ask you this. Do you work, sir?
Yes, I do.
And what do you do for work?
I'm a union pipe fitter.
And how long have you been doing that?
6 years.
Now, if I could turn your attention to the evening of January 28th, 2022, into the following early morning of the 29th. Do you recall that day?
Early morning of the 29th?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
And do you recall what days of the week those were?
Friday and Saturday, I believe.
And on that particular Friday, what, if any, plans did you have yourself and your girlfriend, Caitlin Albert?
For me, it was just an ordinary day. I went out and I met them for a drink.
And about what time?
So I'm going to ask you to keep your voices, okay?
Okay.
You indicated you went and met them. Who is them?
My girlfriend, Caitlin, and that's all I remember.
And do you recall where it was that you went?
Waterfall Bar and Grill.
That's somewhere that you and Caitlin had been to before?
Yes, multiple times.
And do you have any idea what time that was on the 28th?
I don't recall.
And do you recall if anyone else was there in addition to yourself and your girlfriend, Caitlin?
No, I do not.
Do you recall whether or not either of their parents were there?
I don't remember.
You're familiar with your parents, though? Is that fair to say?
Yes, I am.
You're familiar with the family, correct?
Yes, I am.
And if you recall, about how long was it that you were at the waterfall that evening?
I couldn't estimate, but it wasn't that long.
And wasn't that long? Why? What was it that caused you to leave that night?
Later that night, I had to go plow. I was supposed to wake up pretty early.
And as far as plowing, is that something that you do sort of on the side on a fairly regular basis? Or?
Yes. When I can do it, I do it. It's extra money.
And how is it that, what if any relationships you have with the company that you're doing any sort of plowing for?
It's my landlord's company.
And is that, when you say plowing, is that sort of residences, businesses, or something else?
All of those, residence, houses, anything, businesses, could be any of them.
There could be a commercial parking lot, could be a condo, could be a business park, any of those things?
Correct.
And about what time was it, if you know, that you were supposed to sort of be ready or on call to go out to?
So we were waiting for the snow. I just had to be on call for 3 to 4 in the morning, just have my phone on standby and be ready to go, just how it always is.
And so when you left, or when you went to the waterfall in Canton, at that time, was it snowing?
I don't believe so.
And when you left the waterfall to go home, why did you went home to rest? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I needed to sleep. Yes.
And when you left the waterfall to go home to Easton to get some rest or to get some sleep, was it snowing at that point?
I don't remember.
And at some point prior to you going out and either plowing or shoveling early that morning, who, if anyone, was contacting you?
Can you repeat the question, please?
After you went home to rest or get some sleep, well, first of all, were you able to get any sleep?
Barely.
And while you were home in Easton, who, if anyone, was reaching out to you?
Yes, my girlfriend.
And so your girlfriend, Caitlin, was it calling, texting? How was she reaching out to you? Call?
I believe both.
And about what point in the evening did you start to get calls or texts from her?
I don't remember.
And at some point, based on those calls and texts, what, if anything, did you do?
Can you elaborate?
At some point, did you leave Easton and go back to Canton?
Yes, I did.
And do you have any recollection of when that was over the course of the evening or the early morning?
No, I don't remember a time.
And in relation to when you got, let me ask you this, as far as the calls and the texts that you received from your girlfriend, Caitlin, was that one or two, or were they repetitive?
There was a couple different texts, yeah.
And over the course of about how long period of time? Was it all within a couple minutes or half hour, hours?
I don't recall.
And after receiving those, you went to somewhere in Canton, correct?
Yes,
And where did you go?
34 Fairview Road.
Are you familiar with that address?
Yes, I am.
And familiar with it because at some point during the time Caitlin were dating before you moved in together, she lived there, correct?
Correct.
And about how long a drive is that from where you live in Easton to 34 Fairview Road?
Not.
21 to 25 minutes, I would say.
And do you recall what vehicle you were driving on that occasion?
I do. I was driving a white Jeep Cherokee.
And whose white Jeep Cherokee is that?
Caitlin's.
And did you have a vehicle at that time?
I did.
What kind of vehicle did you have?
I believe it was a Ford Fusion.
Fairly older Ford Fusion.
2012, yes.
And so why was it that you took the girlfriend Jeep Cherokee versus your older Ford Fusion?
It drives way better in the snow.
And so when you left your apartment in Easton to drive to 34 Fairview in Canton,
Oh,
was
look,
it snowing at
a
that?
plum.
It was.
Hold on 1 second. Christine, Eddie, can you? Thank you. Go ahead.
So I'm sorry. So when you were driving from Easton to Canton, it was snowing. Do you recall how much snow had come down at that point?
I don't recall.
And what, if anything, do you recall about sort of the snow that was on the ground in relation to how you drove from Easton to Canton?
I was very cautious. I was 10 and 2 the whole time.
And when you arrived at 34 Fairview, where did you park?
I don't remember.
Do you recall whether you parked on the street, or the driveway, or?
No, I don't know.
And when you arrived, what, if anything, did you communicate to Caitlin?
I just told her I was here.
Was that through a text or a call? If you know?
Text, it would be.
You pull up at some point, park somewhere, text her, you're correct?
Yes,
And at some point, she comes out of the house. Is that correct?
correct.
Did you ever get out of the car or go up to the house or go inside the house or anything like that?
No, I did not.
And how much time was it between the time that you texted her that you were here to the time that she came out?
I don't remember.
Oh, yeah.
Was it
Yeah.
a long time or anything like that?
No,
I had
it wasn't.
2.5 years to think
And
about
when
it.
she comes out, do you recall sort of where within the front of the house she came out?
No, I don't remember.
You're familiar with 34 Fairview, though, correct?
I am.
There's a couple of different doors on the front of the house. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But you don't recall specifically which door she came out of?
No, I did not.
And when she came out, she came over to the car, correct?
Correct.
She gets in. Which part of the car did she get in?
The passenger.
Front seat passenger?
Front seat passenger.
And at some point, you're leaving from 34 Fairview and you're going back to Easton, correct?
Correct.
Was there any sort of delay or any sort of long period of time that you were in the car in front of the house after Caitlin gets in the car?
No,
So essentially, she gets in and you pull away.
correct.
And when you pull away from the house, where do you recall which direction you went into to go back to Easton?
I went up Fairview Road.
And so up Fairview Road would be sort of heading towards Chappers, is that correct?
Yes,
And so as you're going by the house, which side of the vehicle would have been facing the house? Either the driver's side of the vehicle or the passenger side?
can you repeat that?
As you're going by the property at 34 Fairview Road,
Yeah.
which side of the Jeep that you were driving was facing 34 Fairview Road? Was
The
it
left.
your side or her side?
My side would be facing the street. If I'm coming down, my side would be facing the left side.
And what I'm asking is when you're driving away.
Away, yes, the passenger side would be facing her house.
And as you were coming there, would it be the driver's side or your side that was facing the house? If you recall which way you came.
Don't recall.
But as you were leaving the house, Caitlin's side or the passenger side would be facing the house, correct?
Correct.
And as far as the snow that's coming down as you're driving away, what, if anything, did you have to do with regard, or what, if anything, did you do with regard to the vehicle? Did you turn anything on or anything as you were driving?
No, I did not.
So did you have a defroster on?
Yes,
Did you have windshield wipers on?
correct.
So the snow was coming down at least at a pace that you had the windshield wipers on, right?
Yes,
And during that drive,
It goes up.
specifically on Fairview Road, at any points during your drive to Fairview and from Fairview, do you recall anything as far as how the roads work, were they treated? Did you see plows out, anything like that?
I don't recall.
I don't recall.
Can I have one moment, Ron?
Yes.
Now, as far as when Caitlin gets into your car, how would you describe her demeanor?
Normal as always.
Nothing out of the ordinary that you observed?
Absolutely not.
She gets in the car, is it fair to say you guys haven't seen each other for a couple hours, you start talking?
Correct.
And so when you're talking, you're driving, she's in the passenger seat, is that correct?
It's correct.
And was she facing you while you were talking to her as you were
Yes.
pulling away? Thank you, sir. I have nothing further.
Thank
you. Thank you.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
You've been dating Caitlin Albert for 7 to 8 years now.
Correct.
The two of you now live together.
Correct.
Are you still living in Easton?
Yes.
How long have you lived together for?
3 years.
When you first met her, where was she living?
Canton.
Where in Canton?
34 Fairview.
She was living there with her parents at the time,
Correct.
Brian and Nicole Albert.
Yes.
You met her parents, Brian and Nicole Albert, several years ago, correct?
Correct.
You've met all of Caitlin's siblings as well.
Correct.
You've spent time at their house.
Yes.
You've spent holidays with them,
Yes.
and you've been over there on weekends, correct?
Yes.
It's fair to say that over the last 7 or 8 years, you've been with the Albert family quite a bit, correct?
Yes.
And you've also been with the McCabe family, correct?
Yes.
And even though you're not married, you consider yourself just about one of the family, correct?
Yes.
Since John O'Keefe's death, you have continued associating with both the Alberts and the McCabe's, correct?
Yes.
Because you're still dating and living with Caitlin, correct?
That is correct.
And in June of 2022, a few months after John O'Keefe's death, you went to Ned Devine's in Boston with many, many men in the family, correct?
Yes.
That includes the Alberts, correct?
Yes.
And that includes the McCabe's.
Yes.
Do you recall who was there that night?
No, I don't.
If I showed you a photograph from that night, would that refresh your memory?
Yes.
Can I approach you on it?
Yes.
I placed a photograph before you. Take a look at that and look up at me when you're done.
Yes.
Does that refresh your memory about who was there that night?
It does.
Are you, by the way, how many people are in that photograph?
Do you want me to count?
With the court's permission.
Okay, go ahead and count. And after you count, let's mark this for identification, please.
Yes.
12. 12 people, including myself.
Okay. If I could have that marked for ID.
12, including myself.
Z for identification.
Thank you.
You would agree with me, sir, that at that night at Ned Devine's in Boston, everybody there was, except for you, was either an Albert or a McCabe?
Yes, that's correct.
And the photo that you or somebody decided to take was all of you with your fists clenched, correct?
Objection.
Sustain.
Did you clench your fists that night?
Objection.
Sustain.
Did all of the Alberts and McCabe's clench their
Objection.
fists that night?
Sustain.
That photo was posted to social media, was it not?
Yes, it was.
And it was posted by somebody named Kevin Reardon.
Yes.
Who's Kevin Reardon?
My girlfriend's cousin.
He's actually the son of one of Nicole and Julie Albert's sisters, correct?
Yes.
And you've met him as well, correct? And do you recall the date that that photograph was posted to social media?
No, I don't.
I showed you Z for identification again. Would that refresh your memory?
Yes.
And I'll take it back from you. You've had a chance to look at it.
Yeah.
Having reviewed Z for identification, does that refresh your memory as to the date of the posting of that photograph?
Yes.
Were you aware at that time that, and by the way, what date was it?
You just showed me.
I know, and I'm asking you to tell the jury.
It's June 5th. It was dated.
Of 2022?
Yeah.
Were you aware that June 5th of 2022 was 4 days before Karen Reed was indicted for this case?
Objection, Your Honor.
The objection sustained.
Were you and the Alberts and the McCabe's celebrating the indictment of Karen Reed?
Objection.
Were you?
No.
That's a bit rich.
Thank you.
You've never testified before any grand jury regarding this case, correct?
I haven't.
You've never testified previously in any hearing regarding this case, correct?
I haven't.
You were at 34 Fairview Road in Canton at 1:45 in the morning or about 1:45 on January 29th of 2022, correct?
I don't remember the time.
Was it wildly different than 1:45 in the morning, or was it somewhat close to that?
I'm not going to make up a time. I don't remember.
Was it 9 p.m. on the 28th?
Arrogant little snot.
I don't remember times.
So if I asked you if you were there to pick up your girlfriend Caitlin at 9 p.m. on January 28th, you couldn't say if that's true or false?
No, because I'm not making up a time.
Okay, so it could have been 9 p.m. that you were there, not 1:45 in the morning.
I didn't say that.
Well, you've just said that you can't rule out that it was actually 9 p.m. on the 28th, didn't you?
Objection, Your Honor.
Can you answer that? Did you say that?
I didn't say anything. I don't remember the time.
No, I understand.
So I'm not going to make up a time.
Hold on. Only one person can speak at a time.
I don't, it could have been later, could have been early. I don't know a time.
Right, but it couldn't have been 9 p.m. on January 28th. Could it have been?
I don't know.
Okay. What time were you at the waterfall?
I don't remember.
Were you at the waterfall?
Yes, it was.
On what date?
The 28th.
Was it in the morning?
It was at nighttime.
Was it? Okay. What time did you leave the waterfall?
I don't remember.
Did you leave
What
at
time
5
did you have to
p.m.?
start work, you dickhead?
I don't remember.
So it could have been 5 p.m. that you left.
Could have been 5 in the morning. I don't know.
Okay. Leaving aside what time it was, or strike that. Will you testify that you were at 34 Fairview Road on January 29th after midnight?
I don't remember the time.
Okay. But you do remember being there, correct?
At the waterfall?
No, at 34 Fairview.
I remember picking my girlfriend up. Yes.
You do, because you testified to that, right?
Right. Yes.
And when you were there, you had an opportunity to see the front lawn to that property, did you not?
Yes.
You pulled into the driveway.
I don't remember where I pulled into.
Okay. Did you pull into any
Who's
place
the airport?
when you got there?
You
I don't remember
jackass.
where I pulled into.
So you
All right,
you
I've
said
had
you don't
enough.
remember where you
I'm gonna
pulled into.
wipe
That
my
wasn't my
ass
question. My
with
question
you.
was, did you pull in any place when you got to 34 Fairview?
Well, I had to pick my girlfriend up. So yes, I did.
Okay. Was there any place other than the driveway to pull into when you got to 34 Fairview?
No,
So it had to be the driveway, right?
must have been.
All right. And when you pulled into the driveway, you waited a period of time for Caitlin, correct?
Yes.
And how long a period of time was that?
I don't remember.
Was it more than a half hour?
No,
Was it more than 10 minutes?
I don't remember.
It could have been more than 10 minutes.
I don't remember.
Probably wasn't.
And when you say it probably wasn't, that means it probably was less than 10 minutes, correct?
I don't remember the time.
During that time that you were waiting for Caitlin to come out of the house while you were in the driveway, there was nothing obstructing your view of the front lawn, correct?
Lord,
Nope.
I think I can hear a cat fighting.
And shifting gears for a second, this was on January 29th of 2022, correct?
Yes.
And ultimately, you did pick up Caitlin and take her back to Easton, correct?
Correct.
On January 29th, at any point that day or night, Trooper Michael Proctor never interviewed you, correct?
Correct.
Nor did he interview you the next day or the day after that, correct?
Correct.
Or the month of February, correct?
Correct.
Or the entire year of 2022, correct?
Correct.
Or the entire year of 2023, correct?
Correct.
The first time any investigator of this case interviewed you was May 7th of 2024, correct?
When was that? I don't.
That was 1 week ago. That was last Tuesday.
Correct.
You were aware at the time you were being interviewed for the first time by any investigator, this case had already started.
Yes.
You were aware that this jury heard opening statements from both counsel on April 29th, which was over a week before May 7th, correct?
Yes.
So it wasn't until over a week after opening statements that somebody from the state police finally interviewed you, correct?
Nobody from the state police interviewed me.
Who was it that interviewed you?
Nobody interviewed me. I spoke to the DAs about coming in here. That was about it.
Okay, I thought you had just testified that on May 7th, that was the first time an investigator reached out for you.
Yes.
All right. And when I use the term interview, I don't mean that somebody put a bright spotlight on you and took you into an interrogation room. I'm just asking, did somebody ask you questions?
Yes.
Objection.
I'll let it stand.
Thank you, Ron. And that interview did not take place in person, correct?
No, it did not.
That was a phone interview, correct?
Correct.
And your attorney was on the line for that, correct?
Correct.
Now, from the beginning of the night on January 28th, your plan was to go home early, correct?
Correct.
You weren't drinking much, correct?
That is correct.
You had to get up early.
Yes.
And it actually was really early. It could have been as early as 3 a.m., correct?
Correct.
So from the beginning, you knew that you weren't going to get much sleep, correct?
Yes.
And if you were going to get any sleep, you couldn't stay at the waterfall all night, correct?
That is correct.
So you left early.
Yes.
And you planned to go home, get whatever rest or sleep you could get, and then wait for the call to go out plowing, correct?
That is correct.
The plan from the beginning was not for you to leave the waterfall, go to Easton, and then drive back from Easton to Canton to pick up Caitlin, and to then take her back to Easton so that you could wait for the call for plowing. That was not the original plan, correct?
No, it wasn't.
No, of course it wasn't. So I apologize, Ron. I withdraw that comment. But the plan changed, correct?
Yes.
And that was because you heard from your girlfriend, Caitlin, correct?
Yes.
And I'm going to ask you a question and hope I get an answer. Do you recall what time it was that she contacted you?
No, I don't recall.
Did anybody instruct you not to talk about any times that anything happened?
Absolutely not.
How did Caitlin contact you that night?
Via text, via phone.
And you were in Easton when she did that, correct?
Yes.
She was at 34 Fairview?
Yes.
And by the way, the snowstorm was no surprise to you that night, right?
No.
I mean, that's why you were waiting to plow, correct?
Yes.
That snowstorm had been forecast.
Yes.
And it had started snowing by midnight, correct?
I don't remember when it started snowing.
But for some reason, Caitlin now needed to get picked up before you went plowing, correct?
Yes.
That meant, despite the fact that you had to get up potentially at 3 a.m., you now had to make the trip back and forth between Canton and Easton a second time, correct?
Yes.
And you considered it to be important enough that you agreed to pick up Caitlin, despite the changes.
Because she's high maintenance.
Correct.
All right. Now, when you pulled into that driveway, you at least temporarily parked in the driveway waiting for her, correct?
Yes.
What other cars were in the driveway at that time?
I don't remember.
What side of the driveway did you park on?
I don't remember.
After you parked, you texted Caitlin to tell her that you were there, correct?
Yes.
And you previously testified that you don't remember how long it took for her to come out of the house, correct?
I don't remember.
And I started to ask you, and I'll just finish that line of questioning, that at that point, the front lawn of the house was to your left, correct?
It would have been, yes.
Right, and there were no obstructions between you and the front lawn blocking your view, correct?
I wouldn't be staring at her grass. So no.
Okay. I didn't ask you where you were staring. I was just asking if there were any obstructions.
Okay, yeah.
And the answer to that question is?
No.
He keeps touching
Was
his
snow
face.
starting to accumulate at that
Oh,
time?
gee.
I don't remember.
Recall if there was any snow on the ground?
Yes, because I was driving cautiously.
And against that white snow, did you see a black baseball cap?
Absolutely not.
And as you sat in that driveway, you also did not see a black sneaker?
Absolutely not.
And you also did not see 45 pieces of red plastic
No.
or even one piece?
No.
And
Oh,
you
6
certainly
foot.
did not see a 6'2" man
6 foot
on the
man.
lawn
Yeah.
of your girlfriend's parents' home, correct?
No, I did not.
You saw nothing unusual in that front area of the lawn, correct?
No, I did not.
Caitlin got into the Jeep.
Correct.
The plan was for you to drive the Jeep back to Easton with her, correct?
Yes.
You backed out of the driveway, correct? And you turned the rear end of that car toward Cedar Crest, correct?
Not towards Cedar Crest. I was going up the hill. So it should be
Okay,
Fairview.
if I suggested to you that going up the hill would take you towards Chapman, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, and the other end of the street was Cedar Crest, right?
Towards that way, yes.
Okay, so the rear end of your car was towards Cedar Crest and you were facing up the hill towards Chapman, right?
Yes.
That would have meant that you were driving your vehicle past really the entire length of Brian Albert's front lawn, correct?
Yes.
And the front lawn would have been on Caitlin's side of the car, correct?
Yes.
And you drove past the flagpole that you're familiar with, correct?
Yes.
And as you drove
Really?
past that entire front lawn, you never saw any of the things that
57
previously
times.
asked you about the baseball hat, the sneakers, the pieces of red plastic, or a 6'2" man, correct?
I did not.
You saw nothing out of the ordinary, correct?
Correct.
And you saw no tire tracks in the snow leading to the Albert's front lawn, did you?
I did not.
You didn't see anything that would lead you to conclude that there had been a car crash there, correct?
Absolutely not.
Sustained.
No further questions, thank you, Your Honor.
Hey, anything, Mr. Lally?
Just briefly on.
Yeah, here he goes again.
That photograph that you were shown, do you know what that was, what that gathering was in regards to?
No, I don't.
Now, prior to you leaving the waterfall or during the course of any of the texts or phone calls that you received from Caitlin, was there any sort of reason that was discussed as far as picking her up and bringing her to Easton before you went off to Buff?
Can you repeat that?
From your discussions with Caitlin, what was the reason that you went back to 34 Fairview to pick her up and bring her home?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Why'd you do that?
Well, she's high maintenance. I didn't really want to have to deal with
She's
it.
high maintenance.
She wanted to come home, is that correct?
Yes.
And did she say why she wanted to come home?
I want to get snowed in.
I'll allow it.
Now, you've testified before that as you were driving around that night, you were cautious and your hands were attentive to, is that right?
Absolutely.
So as you're driving past your girlfriend's parents' house, was there any reason, excuse me, was there any reason for you to direct your attention to the front lawn area of their home?
Absolutely not.
Nothing further on.
Okay, you are all set.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
How many times did he touch
The
his
next witness,
face?
Mr. Lally?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm off the call. Ms. Sarah Levinson to the stand.
Let's see how much she remembers. Yeah, she was one of the chicks that was at the Albert's house celebrating Brian Albert Jr.'s birthday with him at the home before they all came back.
All this way. Just watch your step on.
Name, stand, and face the clerk.
Raise your right hand. So I'm going to skip the court and jury in case everyone hears you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just need you to scoot up and pull down that microphone. Talk really loud into it. Thank you.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Thank you. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Sarah Levinson, Levinson.
And where do you live, ma'am?
Canton,
How long have you lived in Canton?
my whole life.
And who, if anyone, do you live in Canton with?
My parents.
Now, do you work there?
Yes,
What do you do for it?
I'm a registered nurse.
And how long have you been a registered nurse?
3 years.
Now, ma'am, if I could turn your attention to the evening of January 28, 2022 into the early morning of 29th. Do you recall those days?
Yes.
Do you recall what days of the week?
Friday was the 28th, Saturday the 29th.
And as far as that evening of the 28th, what, if any, plans did you have for that evening?
My plans were to go to my friend Brian's house for his birthday celebration.
And so your friend, that would be Brian Albert Jr., is that correct?
Correct.
Do you know how old he was turning for his birthday?
23.
And how long or how did you know Brian Albert Jr. at that?
We met in high school. He's the grade below me. So I would say now it's been about 10 years. So about 8.
And that his house as far as 34 Fairview Road, had you been there before?
Yes.
Plenty of times, is that?
Yes.
And on that particular evening, how was it that you came to be there? How did you get it?
My friend Julie's father drove us.
And your friend Julie, is that Julie Nagel?
Correct.
And yourself and Julie Nagel, how long have you known each other?
Middle school, so a little bit longer than how long I've known Brian for.
And you and Miss Nagel, were you in the same grade together?
Yes.
And so her father drives you from your house, picks you up at some point, and brings you over to 34 Fairview.
Correct.
Do you know about what time it was that you arrived at 34 Fairview?
Between 7 and 8 p.m.
When you arrived, who, if anyone, was in the house at Fairview when you got
It was Brian Jr., Nicole Albert, Caitlin Albert, and Julie Albert.
there? And what was, as far as your understanding, what was sort of the plan for that particular evening?
We were all going to meet at Brian's house. His family was going to go out, his mom, aunt, and sister. And then we were kind of going to go from there, whether we were going to go out or stay home. It was up in the air.
And when you arrived there, so at some point did his mother, Nicole Albert, his aunt and his sister leave the house?
Correct.
How long a period of time was it from the time that you and Julie arrived to the time that Brian's mother, aunt, and sister left?
15 to 25 minutes, I would say.
And did you have any idea where they were going?
No.
Now, as far as during that time after they left, what was it? Do you recall sort of where in the house you were hanging out, or what you were doing?
We were in the family room and in the kitchen as well.
In the kitchen area within the Albert house at 34 Fairview, were you familiar with that?
Yes.
And the kitchen and the dining room, are those sort of the same thing? Is that correct?
Correct.
In the family room that you're talking about, well, let me ask you this. Sort of, with respect to 34 Fairview, there are basically two front doors. Correct?
So, Mr. Lally, I think we can move on from the general description of the house, please.
One last question in regard to that. So the family room that you're talking about, where is that in relation to the kitchen dining room?
If you're looking at the house, it's to the right.
Now, what is it that at some point in time did other people join you and Julie and Brian Jr. at the house?
Between 8 and 9 o'clock.
And who was it that came over between 8 and 9?
Courtney Alba, Catherine Duty, Emily Fabiano, and Mary Kent.
I'm going to ask you to spell all of those last names for us, if you would, please.
So Courtney Alba, A-L-B-A. Catherine Duty, it's Kathryn-D-O-O-D-Y. Emily Fabiano, the last name, F-A-B-B-I-A-N-O. I believe it might be 1B. And then Mary Kent, K-E-N-T.
Thank you.
And with respect to Ms. Alba, Ms. Duty, Ms. Fabiano, and Ms. Kent, how did you know them?
I knew Catherine and Emily since elementary school. Mary and Courtney I had known since high school. Courtney I was more of an acquaintance with because she was friends with Brian.
So she was more friends with your friend than you had sort of a mutual friend, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, during the time that you were at the house on Fairview, you mentioned earlier you were in sort of the family room area. Where else did you go within the house?
Just the family room, the kitchen / dining room, and then the bathroom off the kitchen.
And just so I'm clear as far as what I'm asking, when I'm saying you sort of plural. So you, in addition to all the other people that you just mentioned, was there any other area of the house that the group of you went at any point?
Brian took either Mary or Catherine, I don't remember which one, upstairs at one point to see their family dog.
Can I ask you to keep your voice up, if you would, please? Thank
Sorry.
And about how long a period were they upstairs to the family dog?
No more than 5-10 minutes.
And so what was it that the group of you were doing at the house over the course of this evening?
So we were celebrating Brian's birthday. They had gotten calzones. We were eating and then we were drinking.
And in general terms, if you recall, what was the group sort of drinking that night?
Like spiked seltzers. I know Brian was most likely drinking White Claw because that's really all he drinks. I remember one of the other girls bringing Trulies. I'm not sure about the other people, but around that type of stuff.
And do you know how much each of the people sort of had to drink while they were there?
I'm not completely sure. No one was tipping over.
Fair to say that whatever people had, it was sort of commensurate with each other. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, at some point, over the course of the evening, so you're eating, you're drinking, was there like music going or anything like that?
Yes, music.
And if you recall, like sort of how did How's the music being played?
through a Bluetooth speaker.
And over the course of the evening, in addition to the people that you've just mentioned, at some point did somebody else come by the house?
Yes.
Who was that?
Colin Albert.
And did you know Colin Albert prior to that evening as well?
Yes.
And about how old was Colin around that time?
High school, like late high school.
And how was it, or how well did you know Colin Albert?
Not very well. Like I said, I'd been friends with Brian for about 8 years at that point, and I know Colin's older brother, Christopher, pretty well. He's my age. I grew up with him, known him since elementary school. So it's kind of like, we weren't friends, I wouldn't say, me and Colin, but we were cordial.
So he's a younger brother of somebody that you went to school with.
Correct.
And he was your friend Brian Albert Jr.'s cousin, correct?
Correct.
Now, with respect to Colin, do you know about what time he arrived?
I can't say for sure. Not sure.
Sometime before or after the other Miss Fabiano, Miss Alba, and Miss Judy arrived?
He was there when Miss Fabiano, Kent, and he was there when Miss Judy, Miss Fabiano, and Miss Kent were there. I'm not sure if Miss Alba was still there because she left separately from those three.
And you mentioned that you had come over to the house getting a ride from Miss Nagel's father, correct?
Correct.
Do you know how the other women got over to the house as far as Miss Kent, Miss Fabiano, Miss Alba, and Miss Judy?
They got dropped off. I'm not sure by who.
So fair to say there weren't like a line of cars out in front of the house, correct?
Correct.
And about how long, with respect to that group that was there as far as you and the other young women, about how long a period of time were you all at the house?
2 to 3 hours.
So do you know about what time it was that Miss Alba, Fabiano, Miss Judy, and Miss Kent left?
Miss Alba left before the other three. Her boyfriend picked her up, and then Miss Kent, Miss Judy, and Miss Fabiano all left together. I know it was before midnight.
And when they left, was Colin Albert, was he still there?
I believe so.
And you know how much time or overlap there was between Colin Albert and the other women as far as Miss Kent, Miss Fabiano, and Miss Judy?
I don't remember exactly.
Now, from your recollection of that evening, how would you describe sort of the mood or the demeanor within the house over the course of those few hours?
Everything was good, happy. We were celebrating. No issues.
No issues with anybody that was in?
No.
Now, after, at some point in time, later on in the evening or in the early morning of the 29th, who, if anyone else, came by?
So Mr. Albert, Brian's father, Mr. Higgins, Mrs. Albert, Brian's mother, Caitlin Albert, Brian's sister, Jennifer McCabe, Brian's aunt, and then Matt McCabe, Brian's uncle.
Let me sort of break down and ask you a bit like this. So as far as the order of people arriving, at some point did you learn where they were coming from?
Yes.
And where were they coming from?
Brian's father and Mr. Higgins, as far as I knew, were coming from New York. They were at a funeral for a fallen police officer. And Brian's other family members, aunt, uncle, mother, and sister, they were out in Canton. I wasn't sure what establishment.
And so those people that you described, did they all come at the same time, or did they come in sort of staggered fashion, or how did they arrive?
Brian's father and Mr. Higgins arrived first, but they all arrived within 5 minutes of each other.
And first, in reference to Brian's father, Brian Sr., you had obviously met him on prior occasions, correct?
Correct.
And Brian Higgins, is that someone that you had met before, or you had known prior to that evening?
No.
And when Mr. Albert Sr. and Mr. Higgins arrived at the residence on Fairview, was Colin Albert still there?
I don't remember.
Do you have any recollection of those people being in the same room at the same time on that?
I don't remember.
And so, as far as Brian Jr., your friend, his mother's name is Nicole, is that right?
Correct.
His sister's name is Caitlin?
Correct.
And did you know both of them prior to the evening of the 28th?
Yes.
And with respect to Caitlin, how would you describe your sort of relationship with her?
We were friends in high school.
Fair to say that you were closer with Brian Jr. versus Caitlin, correct?
Correct.
And same question in regard to Colin Albert. Do you recall whether or not he was there in the house at the time that Nicole and Caitlin came?
I don't remember.
And then as far as Jennifer and Matthew McKay, were you familiar with them prior to the
I think it's
evening of
painkiller
28th?
time.
I knew who they were. I'm not sure if I've ever had a conversation with them prior to that.
When you say you knew who they were, how was it that you knew who they were?
I knew they were Brian's aunt and uncle.
Had you ever met them before or had any occasion to see them anywhere before that you can recall?
I know I had seen or met Jen before. I'm not sure about Matt.
And same question in reference to as far as Colin Albert, do you recall whether or not he was in the house at any point in time when the McCabe was there?
I don't remember.
You recall Colin Albert leaving the house at some point?
Yes.
You just don't recall when it was in relation to when the other people arrived from wherever they were?
No.
And do you recall how it was that he left the house?
He got a ride.
You know who he got a ride from?
Objection.
No, do you know?
No.
Next question.
Now, when these other people came to the house, we'll refer to them as the older adults, is a fair portrayal of them,
Sorry, can you repeat that?
than the rest of the people that were there earlier than, correct?
Correct.
So that group that came in later, as far as when they arrived, where were they in relation to the house? Like, where were they situated?
We were all in the dining/kitchen.
So all in that same sort of area.
Correct.
Now, at any point in time over the course of the evening, do you recall anybody from that group of people sort of going anywhere else in the house that you saw?
Not that I remember.
And with respect to the house on Fairview Road, you're familiar with where the basement is located in the house, is that correct?
Yes.
And at any point in time in the evening, did you see anybody from that group, either before or after, go anywhere near the basement or go into the basement area?
No.
Now, with respect to the sort of mood and demeanor after these other folks come by, do you know about what time it was that those people started coming back in from wherever they were coming?
12:15. It wasn't that long after it struck midnight.
So sometime after the strike at midnight, these other folks start to come back to the house.
Correct.
And from that period, from 12:15 or so, from that period, about how long was it after that that you were at the house on Fairview?
I left between 1:30 and 2 a.m.
So about an hour and a half or so after they got there.
Correct.
Now, with respect to that hour and a half or so after they got there, how would you describe sort of the mood and the demeanor within the home during that?
Same thing. We were celebrating, happy, dancing, all that.
The drinking continued, correct?
Correct.
No issues or arguments or anything that you observed, correct?
Correct.
Now, within the area of the kitchen dining area, at some points, do you recall where people were? I'm talking later in the evening when the folks come back to the house after midnight. Do you remember where those people were sort of situated around the kitchen dining room area at that time?
Yes.
And could you describe to the jury sort of where they were?
So the dining room table is a square. So, and it was in front of the front window. So in front of the front window where their back would be to the window was my friend Julie Nagel. I was sitting then, I don't know, was that perpendicular? I haven't taken math in a long time. I was sitting here. If the window's here, I was sitting on this side, facing kind of, I could see the front door. And then to my right, Brian Sr. and Mr. Higgins were standing. So they're back towards the kitchen. And Mrs. Albert Nicole was sitting with her back to the front door area. And Jen and Matt and Caitlin, I don't believe were sitting.
Over that course of hour and a half or so after those folks came back to the house sometime after midnight, did you observe any other people walking or coming into the house at any point?
No.
Let me ask you this. As far as on January 28th into the 29th of 2022, did you know anybody by the name of John O'Keefe?
No.
And did you know anybody by the name of Karen Reed?
No.
And with respect to either of those people or any other people, no one else came into the house while you were there?
Correct.
Now, at some point in time, your friend Julie, did she go outside the house?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury what that was in regard to?
Her older brother, Ryan, was coming to pick us up to take us home. So she went out to talk to him. Prior to him arriving, she said something to me along the lines of Ryan's coming to get us, which Jen McCabe said.
Sustain.
Question. And so in relation to when folks arrived back from wherever they were coming from to 34 Fairview, when was this that you had this conversation with Julie about her brother coming to get that?
Around 12:30, give or take.
And at some point, did Julie go outside the house?
Yes.
And did you have any occasion to look outside at any point when she was out there?
No.
And about how long period of time was Julie outside the house?
No longer than 5 minutes.
And after that, her going outside no longer than 5 minutes and coming back inside, were there other arrangements that were made as far as how you and Julie were going to get home that night?
Yes.
And what were those arrangements as far as what was your understanding of how you were getting home that night?
Jen McCabe and Matt McCabe would drive us home.
Now, Jen McCabe, around that time that Julie went outside of the house and came back in, what, if anything, did you observe her to be?
Her phone was plugged in behind me, charging. She was checking it periodically.
And again, if you could remind the jury, sort of, what was it that was behind you as far as where was it?
So where I was sitting behind me was a wall. And then behind that wall would be the family room.
And so I guess what I'm asking is, was there something specific that her phone was like resting on, or was it just sort of hanging out of the plug, or how was it positioned?
I think it was just resting on the floor.
And with reference to her phone, was that something that Ms. McCabe came over and looked at any point in time while it was charging?
Yes.
How many times?
I'm not sure, to be exact.
Let me ask you this, was it once or more than once?
Yeah,
Or something?
I don't know where they are. Or Elizabeth?
More than once, I would say.
And without any reference to anything that was said, was there some conversation that you had with Ms. McCabe during the time that she would come over and check or look at the phone?
Myself, no. In general, I remember her saying someone was coming.
And that someone that she indicated was coming, again, no one ever actually came in the house or was around the house that you were aware of, correct?
Correct.
And so about what time was it that you left home on Fairview on that particular evening?
Between 1:30 and 2 a.m.
And you left with your friend, Ms. Nagel, as well as Mr. and Mrs. McCabe, correct?
Correct.
And do you recall what kind of vehicle they had or what they were driving on that evening?
Some sort of like large Subaru type. I don't know the exact make or brand, but a large, all I could say was like a Subaru, not a Subaru, not a Suburban. I don't know cars. Like a Tahoe, like a big car.
So like a bigger SUV, correct?
Yes.
And within the SUV that you eventually got into and took a ride home, correct?
Yes.
And if you recall, from within the SUV that you got into, was there, as far as the back seat was concerned, was it 2 rows, 3 rows, or something else?
It was 3 rows.
And where was that vehicle parked when you came out to get in?
In the driveway.
And when you came out to go from the house to the car, what, if anything, did you observe as far as what was the weather doing then?
It was snowing.
And as far as the snow that had come, was there any sort of accumulation on the ground that you saw?
Yes.
And so based on that, what, if anything, do you recall about sort of your walk from the front door to the McCabe's vehicle in the driveway?
So we exited the front door and went down the front walkway to the driveway. As I said, it was snowing. Julie and I were like arms linked, and I was looking down at my feet to make sure I didn't slip.
And why were you looking down at your feet?
I wore shoes that my mother told me not to wear because they didn't have traction, but they went with my outfit, so I wore them. anyways. And I knew if I had slipped and fell, she would say, "I told you so." So I made sure not to do that.
And when you get to the vehicle, do you recall sort of who was driving and who sort of sat where within the vehicle?
Yes. So Matt was driving. Jennifer was in the passenger seat. Julie was behind Matt on the driver's side, and then I was behind Jen.
And when you get into the back of the vehicle, do you recall, was there any sort of conversation about, did either Mr. or Mrs. McCabe know where the two of you lived at that point? No?
They did not.
So I imagine there was some discussion as far as where to, or what was the address or something like that.
Yes, correct.
Do you recall if that was something that was like plugged into the GPS, or were you just sort of giving verbal instructions about where to go?
I don't remember.
And do you recall as far as the order of who got dropped off first versus yourself and Ms. Nagel?
Yes,
And who got dropped off?
Julie.
About how far a drive is it from the address on Fairview to Julie's house?
Less than 5 minutes.
And same as far as, so from Julie's house, you then went to your house, is that correct?
Yeah, about 5 minutes, I would say, from Julie's to mine.
So 5 minutes or so from Fairview to Julie's and 5 minutes or so from Julie's to yours.
Correct.
Now, when you get in the back of the vehicle, do you recall any other sort of discussion while you were in the driveway before you left?
So yes, we got in to the car. Matt forgot his jacket inside, so he went back to get his jacket. And Julie and I were in the back seat looking around. One of us noticed, I remember, a loaf of bread, just a lone loaf of bread in the back seat. And we said something to Jen because we thought it was weird. And she said something along the lines of, "Oh, anyone want a peanut butter and jelly on the way?" Like making a joke. So we were looking back at the third row.
And so Ms. McCabe is in the front seat of the vehicle at this point.
Yes,
So she sort of turned to talk to you while you're in the back seat.
correct.
And was she turned towards the center of the car, or the window, or something else?
To the center.
And if you recall, Mr. McCabe gets his jacket, comes back in the car, and at some point backs out of the driveway.
Correct.
And when Mr. McCabe drives from there headed towards Ms. Nagel's house, do you recall which direction that the vehicle was facing as far as going by the house on Fairview?
So,
Let me ask it probably in a better way.
okay.
So at some point, did you drive past the 34 Fairview Road residence on the way to Julie's house?
Yes.
And when you did so, which side of the McCabe's vehicle was facing the Fairview Road residence? Was it the side that you're on or the side that Julie's on?
The side I was on.
And at the time that you were driving past that, was there a conversation still that was going on in the backseat of the car or with anybody else?
Yes.
And who was sort of engaged in conversation with that?
Myself and Julie.
And so you're looking at her direction while you're talking to her, is that correct?
Correct.
And as you're driving past the house, what, if anything, does Julie say?
Objection.
Ask it to cover Mr. Riley.
As you're driving past the house, what, if any, conversation were you having with them?
Objection.
All right, so I'm going to see Counselor Dibar on this one issue. Chairs, feel free to stand up.
Sidebar. Mm-hmm. $4.90 for a lettuce. A lettuce. A lettuce.
So, Ms. Levinson, without respect to what Ms. Nagel said to you in the car? The two of you were conversing, correct?
Correct.
And as you're pulling past the house, she says something to you, correct? Or says something out loud?
Not farther up the street.
And so when you're talking about farther up the street, where was the vehicle in relation to the house at 34 Fairview when she said something?
The house was behind us.
And so based on what she had said, where does your attention go?
When she was speaking to me, I looked at her. Once she said what she said, I looked the other way to the window.
And at the time that you looked to the window, what was sort of outside the window in reference to 34 Fairview? Was any part of the residence still, or the lawn or anything else visible to you at that time?
No.
And so was a neighboring house, is that fair to say?
One of the neighboring houses, yes.
So whether it was next door neighbor or a couple houses down, it was past that point, correct?
Correct.
And was there any further discussion that you recall in the backseat of the vehicle between yourself and Julie in relation to that earlier statement?
I asked for clarification.
Did you receive any further clarification?
No.
I may have a moment, John.
Yes.
Nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, so this is a good place
Really?
for us to take our morning recess. See you folks about 15 minutes.
All rise to the court, please. Your notebooks, follow me.
You are muted.
Yes. And we're going to the OnlyFans. Are we on a break or? All right, I might go out and check and skip it. I'll be back.
Thank you. Maybe Steve Court back.
All right, let's bring Ms. Levinson in, please. All right, Ms. Giannetti.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, miss.
Good morning.
You have lived in Canton your whole life?
Correct.
Graduated from Canton High School?
Yes.
Have been friends with Brian Albert Jr. since high school?
Yes.
I believe you said it's been probably about 10 years now that you've been friends?
Correct.
And the two of you actually went to the junior prom together, correct?
Correct.
You consider him a close friend.
Correct.
You've been to his house many times?
Yes.
You've gone inside the home and you've spent time in the backyard as well?
Yes.
Gone swimming in the pool that they had in the backyard?
Yes.
And in high school, you would hang out in their basement, would you not?
That's correct.
And you know that there's, in that basement, a bulkhead door that leads to the backyard, correct?
I never noticed it.
You're also on good terms with other members of the Albert family.
Correct.
You know his brothers and sisters, correct?
Correct.
Caitlin Albert, Brendan Albert, Kayla Albert, and Jack Albert.
Yes.
You also know his cousins?
Depends which ones, but yes.
Some of them.
Yes.
You know that Jennifer McCabe's daughters are Brian Albert Jr.'s cousins, correct?
Correct.
And you know both of Brian Jr.'s parents, Brian Albert Sr. and Nicole Albert, correct?
That's correct.
And you actually call Nicole Albert by her nickname, correct?
Sometimes, yes.
And what is that nickname?
Coco?
And you know Brian Albert Sr. relatively well, having been over the house so many times, correct?
Depends what you qualify as well, but yes.
Do you find him a little standoffish?
He's quiet.
But in any case, you're comfortable at the Albert home.
That's correct.
And you were at the Albert home on the night of January 28th, going into the 29th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
Got there around 8 p.m.
Correct.
And you didn't leave until around 2 a.m., give or take, on the 29th, correct?
Correct.
So again, ballpark figures, if you were there from 8 p.m. until 2 a.m., that means that you spent about 6 hours at the Albert home that night into the early morning?
Correct.
And you yourself never left the home during those 6 hours, correct?
Correct.
You were inside the home the entire time.
Correct.
Were you interviewed by any police officer, state trooper, or other investigator about the events of that night on January 29th of 2022?
On that day?
Yeah, were you interviewed?
No.
What about the rest of January or even February of 2022? Were you interviewed by any investigator?
No.
The fact of the matter is that no investigator connected with this case took a statement from you in terms of an interview until about 9 months later, correct?
Correct.
And that was done at the district attorney's office on October 21st of 2022?
Correct.
Now, that night while you were at the house, you'll agree with me that there were people coming and going from the house the whole night, correct?
I mean, you would have to be more specific.
Okay, so I'm not talking about like every minute on the minute,
Mhm.
but during those 6 hours, you saw people come and you saw people leave, correct?
Yes.
But you were not standing guard at the door to take note of everyone who was entering or leaving or the times that they were entering or leaving, correct?
Correct.
You were not keeping a log, for instance, of when somebody came in or when somebody left.
No.
And when you got there around 8 a.m., you came with your good friend Julie Nagel, correct?
Yes.
Julie's father dropped you off there.
Yes.
You saw Nicole Albert, Julie Albert, Caitlin Albert, and Brian Albert Jr. when you arrived, right?
Correct.
Then Julie Albert, Caitlin Albert, and Nicole Albert left, right?
Yes.
But then 4 other friends of Brian Jr. arrived, right?
Yes.
And you would name them when Mr. Lally was asking you questions before the break, right?
Yes, correct.
So with those 4 friends, with you and Julie and Brian Jr., that meant that at that point, there were 7 people in the house, right?
Yes.
Actually, there were 8 people because Colin Albert was there as well, correct?
It depends on what time you're referring to, but yes.
He got dropped off there at some point.
Yes.
And then he was one of the 8 people, including yourself, that you were with.
Correct.
You never saw him walk in the door, did you?
I don't remember.
You don't remember seeing him actually enter the house, correct?
Correct.
But during the night, you actually sat right next to Colin Albert at the table, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And with regard to Colin Albert, I believe you testified, you really wouldn't say he's a friend of yours, right?
That's correct.
He was more of an acquaintance, was he not?
That's correct.
Somebody that you met but you didn't hang around with, right?
Yes.
You have never been in a hot tub with Colin Albert, correct?
Not that I know of, no.
You never took a trip to Maine with Colin Albert, right?
Objection.
No.
Sustained.
Because going away on a road trip, that'd be something that you do with a friend, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
Okay. And with regard to those 4 friends of Brian Jr. who arrived, your best estimate is that they came sometime between 11 p.m. and 12 a.m., right?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure. I'm talking about Courtney Albert, Catherine Duty, Emily Fabiano, and Mary Kent. Strike that. You know what? Let me withdraw that question and rephrase it. They left sometime between 11 p.m. and 12 a.m.
Correct.
And you can't be sure precisely when they left because, again, you weren't watching the clock to make note of when people made their exits, correct?
I know they left before it was Brian Jr.'s birthday on the 29th, so I know it was before midnight, but other than that, no.
Right. And that's like an hour span of time that they could have left within, correct?
Correct.
You never saw Colin Albert physically walk out the door, did you?
I don't remember.
And then at some point before midnight, Brian Albert Sr., Brian Higgins, Nicole Albert, Jennifer McCabe, and Caitlin Albert all arrived at the Albert home, correct?
Yes, I don't know if you said Matt McCabe, but
And
yes.
Matt McCabe as well.
Yes.
And you would agree with me that Brian Higgins and Brian Albert arrived at about the same time?
Yes.
And that Caitlin Albert, Jennifer and Matt McCabe, and Nicole Albert all came back around the same time?
Correct.
Now, from that point until the time that you left around, and that was around 2 a.m., right? Give or take?
Correct.
From that point until around 2 a.m., the only person who left the house was your friend Julie Nick, right?
Correct.
Your understanding was that she went outside to talk to her brother Ryan Nick, right?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. And in addition to not remembering seeing Colin Albert leave, you also did not see Brian Higgins physically leave, correct?
I don't remember.
And you also don't remember seeing Caitlin Albert leave, correct?
No, I don't remember.
Oh, he's a
You
naughty
agree
little
with me
shit.
that throughout the night while you were at the house, Caitlin Albert was playing music on her phone?
Yes.
There
You
were
won't
surround
come.
sound speakers set up in the kitchen dining room area?
I don't remember that.
There were speakers though, correct?
Possibly.
So
I don't remember.
Your memory is not that Caitlin Albert had a song or songs playing on her small iPhone, was it?
No, it was on a speaker. I'm just not sure if it was surround sound or a Bluetooth speaker like it was previously in the night.
All right, fair enough. People were singing and dancing, right?
Correct.
Pretty much everybody was singing, correct?
Correct.
People were talking.
Correct.
Everybody appeared to be in a good mood and having a good time.
Yes.
And with the music, the singing, the dancing, the talking, the drinking, there was a lot of activity going on in the kitchen dining room area, correct?
Yes.
There was plenty of, to pay attention to with regard to the people that were in that area, right?
Yes.
Brian Jr. was in the kitchen essentially the whole night.
Yes.
Jennifer McCabe was charging her phone on the kitchen island at one point.
Behind it, but yes.
Did she pick up her phone in your presence to make any calls or text anybody?
She picked up her phone. I'm not sure what she did with it.
But in any case, you'd agree with me, it was noisy in the kitchen.
Yes.
And the kitchen's in the back of the house.
Yes.
Now, you had seen the Albert family dog, the German Shepherd, Chloe, prior to that day, correct?
Yes.
And Chloe was not a very outgoing dog around people, correct?
Really?
Correct.
In fact, your impression was that she was a former police dog, correct?
Possibly.
Right or wrong?
Maybe. I don't know.
While you were in the kitchen with all of the singing and dancing and talking and music going on, you did not hear Chloe bark, correct?
Correct.
You did not hear Chloe growl, correct?
Correct. Not that I remember.
You did not hear somebody get hit in the back of the head with anything, correct?
Objection.
Go ahead, you can answer that.
Correct.
And while you were there sitting, you could not hear what, if anything, was going on in the basement, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Okay. You were catching a ride home with the McCabe's ultimately, correct?
Correct.
At that time, you believed that you, Julie Nagel, Jennifer McCabe, and Matt McCabe were the last to leave 34 Fairview?
Correct.
So at that time, you believed that Brian Higgins and Caitlin Albert had left before you, correct?
I believe so.
But you didn't see Brian Higgins or Caitlin Albert physically walk out the door. At least you have no memory of that, correct?
Correct.
And when you left, you didn't check every room in the house to see who was still there, correct?
Correct.
You never went down to the basement that night.
That's correct.
And when you
Position
left 34 Fairview, the snow was starting to stick to the ground at around 2 a.m.,
That's correct.
but there weren't mounds of snow or snowbanks that had formed, correct?
Correct.
And when you left the home, you could still see part of the red brick of the walkway that leads to the driveway, correct?
Correct.
And when you got to the driveway, you could still see part of the color of the pavement, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you could still see some grass on the front lawn at 2 a.m., right?
I don't remember, but
Let me have a moment.
Yes.
You testified at a hearing on May 11th of 2023, so just about a year ago, in Boston, correct?
correct.
And neither the prosecution in this case, Mr. Lally and Ms. McLaughlin, or any of the defense team was there, correct?
Correct.
Some other lawyer was asking you questions, right?
Objection.
Sustain, move along with this.
Sure.
please.
You were asked the question, quote, could you see the grass sort of on the lawn? That was when you were leaving. And your answer was yes. Do you recall that question and answer?
I don't recall that.
If I suggested to you that that was the question and answer, would you dispute it?
Objection.
Sustain.
Is your memory exhausted as to whether there was that question of you and that answer given?
Can you rephrase that?
Sure. Do you not remember whether you were asked that question that I just read and the answer that you just gave?
I don't remember.
If you saw that transcript, would that refresh your memory?
Possibly.
Page 187, Counsel. May I, Coach?
Was there an objection? No? Yes, you may.
Thank you. Actually, I'm sorry. I just handed it to you and then took it away. I'm sorry about that. Lines 10 and 11, I would direct your attention. And just read it silently to yourself, please, and look up at me when you're done. I may approach to grab that. Having reviewed that transcript, does that refresh your memory as to what you testified to a year ago?
Yes.
And was that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
With the word being sort of.
Yeah, well, I believe I read the
Yes.
question,
I'm just clarifying. Yeah.
but I did read it accurately. Right?
Correct.
Okay. Where was the McCabe's car parked?
In the driveway.
What other cars did you see in the driveway at that time?
I believe the by Albert family, I mean the ones that owned that house.
The parents.
Yes, correct. Their cars.
Do you know how many?
2.
And
Possibly.
where were those two cars parked? Strike that. Were there two lanes in the driveway where cars were parked?
Yes,
And which lane, to the left or the right, were the Albert cars? Or maybe they were in both.
I believe both.
Both.
Closest to the garage.
Okay, so they were pulled up closest to the entrance of the garage.
Correct.
In tandem, right next to each other.
Correct.
All right. And where was the McCabe's car behind? Which car?
If you're looking at the house, the lane to the left, I believe.
Okay. Now, when you first walked out of the Albert home, you'd agree with me that the front lawn was right in front of you, correct?
Yes.
There were no obstructions blocking your view of that front lawn.
No.
And there were lights on next to the Albert home front lawn, correct?
Correct.
And there was also a lamppost where the front walkway is, correct?
Correct.
And between the two garage doors, there's also a spotlight, is there not?
Correct.
And you would testify that snow had started to accumulate, right?
Correct.
And against that white snow, did you see a black baseball cap?
No.
Did you see a black sneaker?
No.
Did you see a 6'2", 220-pound man sprawled out right in front of you on that lawn?
No.
Did you see 45 pieces of red plastic?
No.
One piece of red plastic?
No.
So you saw nothing unusual on that front lawn as you walked out of that house, correct?
That's correct.
As Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, and Julie Nagel were walking toward the McCabe car, none of them pointed to the front lawn to direct your attention to anything, correct?
That's correct.
In fact, you would testify that Matt McCabe forgot something and had to go back in the house, correct?
Correct.
Which means he actually came out of the house twice that night, correct?
Did they say
Correct.
And
what
the
time
second
they
he
actually
came out, he
left?
still would have been facing that front lawn, correct?
Correct.
And the second time that Matt McCabe came out, he didn't point at anything in the front lawn, correct?
That's correct.
And then the four of you were in the McCabe car, right?
Yes.
Matt McCabe was driving,
Yes.
Jennifer McCabe was in the front passenger seat next to him.
Yes.
Julie Nagel was seated behind the driver, behind Matt McCabe, right?
Yes.
And you were seated in the second row passenger seat to the right,
Yes.
behind where Jennifer McCabe was sitting.
Yes.
And the car backed out of the driveway, correct?
Yep.
And the rear of the car was then facing towards Cedar Crest.
Correct.
And the front of the car, where you were going to drive toward, would be toward Chapman Street, correct?
That's correct.
Which would have put you driving right past the Albert property line, correct?
Yes, correct.
And you were closer to that property line than Julie Nagel was, correct?
That's correct.
As you drove past?
Yes.
And as you drove past that front lawn, you saw nothing out of the ordinary, right?
I wasn't looking, but yes.
Okay. And we had previously
Didn't they say
talked about the fact
time
that you
of
were
death was
first interviewed by
12:45?
investigators on October 21st of 2022, right?
Correct.
And the investigator that spoke to you about 9 months after January 29th of 2022, you will agree with me, was Michael Proctor, correct?
That's correct.
And almost a year after that, you were visited by 2 female members of the defense team, were you not?
Objection.
My home was.
Okay. Do you recognize Ms. Little seated at council table as being one of those 2 females?
Okay, I'm going to see it sidebar.
Felix. Felix. Felix.
Is it fair to say, Ms. Levinson, that you decided not to speak to anybody from the defense team?
That is correct.
And you hadn't before you and I just started this discussion, correct?
That is correct.
Nothing further. Thank you, Ron.
All right, Mr. Lally.
Ms. Levinson, with regard to the basement at 34 Fairview, when was the last time that you were in the basement area of home?
Early college. So 2017, maybe?
That period of time that you were talking about where Ms. McCabe had her phone on the charger and was coming over to check on it, do you recall whether or not Colin Albert was still in the house at that point?
I don't believe so.
You don't believe it was, is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, you come out of the house, you were asking questions about the lawn. The portion of the front lawn that you are talking about, as far as you observed, where is that in relation to the driveway?
To the, well, if you're,
Let me ask you a different way. So as far as, with respect to the front lawn area of the home, what part of the lawn did you make any observations of, or did you look at or see it when you were walking from the doorway to the vehicle?
when I walked out of the front door,
Ding.
I went down the steps of the stoop and I looked in front of me, like down, not straight. So it would be the grass that borders the front walkway.
I can't
So you
read the
weren't
bloody
looking
message.
at
There's a
sort of the
stupid
entirety of the
referral
home, is that
link.
correct?
That is correct.
Won't piss
When you
off.
spoke with Trooper Proctor, was he the only trooper there, or the only state police officer there when you spoke with him?
No.
Do you recall who the other trooper was?
Do all.
I don't
my
remember
God.
the name specifically. It was not like a common last name, though. I know that.
And as far as defense investigators or anybody else coming to your house, you chose not to speak with them, is that correct?
Correct. I was not home when what Mr. Ionetti was talking about. My parents were home, but out of respect, I contacted the defense to tell them the next day, I believe, that I had nothing to have a conversation with them about.
Why not?
I know that legally I didn't have to, and I didn't have anything to say.
Nothing further.
All right, you are
Ah,
all
now I
set.
can see it.
Thank you.
Most of the time, yeah.
Your next witness,
Felix
Mr. Lally.
is just
Yes, Your Honor. Call
decided that
Ms.
he's
Julie
a
Nagel
big
to the stand.
boy. And yeah, he's just turned 2 and he's now a big boy. So he tries to pick on his sister and is out on the prowl. Little turd. But then there's the biggest Suki Lala
Step on me.
when he comes back.
Raise right here. Just you solemnly swear the evidence here in the court and during the case down here, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you.
But the 2 oldest boys, not so much. Depends. A day.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Thank you, Your Honor.
If I'm
Good
around.
morning, ma'am.
How you doing?
Could you please state your name and spell your last name?
Yep, it's Juliana Nagel, Nagel,
And where do you live, ma'am?
Canton, Mass.
And how long have you lived in Canton?
My whole life.
And who, if anyone, do you live in Canton?
I live with my parents and my brothers, but mostly now just my parents.
And how many brothers do you have?
I have 2 older brothers.
And what are their names and how much older than you are they?
My oldest brother Ryan is 31, and then my other brother Sam is 27.
And do you work, ma'am?
I do. I work for a car rental agency.
How long have you been doing it?
A little over a year and a half.
Now, ma'am, if I could get your attention to January 28th, 2022 into the early morning of the 29th. Do you recall where you were that evening?
I do.
And where did you go?
To my friend Brian Albert's house.
And your friend, that's Brian Albert Jr., is that correct?
Yes, junior. Yep.
And how is it that you know Brian Albert Jr.?
We went to school together, high school. So I've known him for quite some time.
And was Brian Albert Jr., was he in the same grade or the same class as you?
He was a year below me.
And do you recall about what time it was that you went over to his house the evening of the 20th?
I'm not sure exactly, but I would say probably around like 6.
And do you recall what day of the week that was, the 28th and the 29th?
I believe a Friday.
So Friday and Saturday, is that correct?
Mhm.
And how did you get?
Yes.
How did you get to Mr. Albert Jr.'s house that night?
My dad drove me.
And who, if anyone else, did your dad give a ride to?
My friend Sarah Levinson.
How long have you known Sarah Levinson?
Since middle school, I would say.
And you're familiar with Mr. Albert Jr.'s house at 34 Fairview Road?
Correct. Yes.
And have you been there on occasion over the course of your friendship?
Yes.
Now, what was, as far as your understanding, what was sort of the plan for that evening?
Just hang out, have some drinks for my friend Brian's birthday. Just to gather and hang out.
And when you arrived there, who, if anyone, in addition to yourself, Ms. Levinson and Brian Albert Jr. were present at the home at that time?
From what I can recall, I just remember Brian Jr. Yep.
And at some point, did some other people come and join the group of the 3 of you at the home?
Yes.
And when about was that in relation to when you and Sarah left?
I can't remember. I don't recall the time frame.
Sometime after that?
Yes. Yep.
Was it that came to join the group at some point?
It was me, Brian Jr., Sarah Levinson, Catherine Duty, Emily Fabiano, Mary Kent, Courtney Elba, Colin Albert, and then that's what I can remember from then in the early part of the night.
And so with respect to Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Kent, Ms. Alba, and was Ms. Duty as well, is that correct?
Correct.
How did you know them?
Through Brian Jr. Yep.
They in the same grade or class as you and Ms. Levinson?
In Brian's class.
Class below you?
Correct. Yep.
And so fair to say that you were closer friends with Brian Albert Jr. and Ms. Levinson than the other 4 girls you came with?
Correct. Yes.
You mentioned, as far as those 4 individuals, Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Kent, Ms. Duty, and Kent, Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Duty, and Ms. Alba. Did they come together as far as you know?
I don't remember. I'm not sure.
And do you have any idea how they got there?
No, I do not.
Now, with reference to, you mentioned Colin, correct?
Mhm.
And how do you know?
So on the mhms, they have to be yes or no.
Okay, got it.
So what was that answer?
Do you mind repeating the question?
Let me
Thank you.
ask the question. So with reference to Colin Albert, did you know Colin Albert prior to that evening as well?
Yes,
And how did you know Colin?
through Brian Jr.
And what, if anything, did you know about the relationship between Colin Albert and Brian Albert?
They're cousins.
And about how old was Colin Albert around this time frame of January 28, 2022?
I'm not quite sure. I don't know.
You know whether or not he was in high school or college or something else?
High school.
And when was it that he arrived in relation to the four young ladies that you were talking about?
I don't remember. A little bit after though.
Okay, so it's some point in time after they arrived.
Yes,
And they arrived after you, is that correct?
correct. Yep.
And over the course of the evening within the Albert house, where is it sort of within the home that you and sort of the group were congregating?
We were mostly in the dining room area with the kitchen. It's like an open floor plan a little bit.
And do you recall what specifically, or just generally speaking, what you were doing while you were hanging out and celebrating Brian Jr.'s birthday?
We got some food ordered from Deanie. Just hanging out, drinking. That was it.
Do you recall any music playing or anything like that?
Yes.
And how was that sort of set up, or what was it?
Yeah, I can mostly remember it being set up from the overhead speakers in the kitchen, like in the ceiling.
And was that being played through somebody else's like phone or device or something like that?
Yes.
And do you recall who was sort of in control or who was controlling the music?
I believe it was Caitlin Albert.
And so prior to, at this point in time that you're talking about,
Mhm.
sort of the initial was Caitlin there at that point?
Yes, she was.
I'm sorry, during the point in time when it was yourself and Ms. Levinson, the other four young women that you were talking about, Colin Albert, was Ms. Caitlin Albert there at that point, if you recall?
Not at that point, no.
So that's what my question was.
Okay.
In relation to that time, who, if anyone, was
I-
in charge?
Okay. No, not at that time. I don't remember.
Now, with respect to, obviously you were there and you were drinking, people were drinking, correct?
Yep.
Do you recall sort of what people were drinking?
And we're back.
I know at the time I was drinking
some reason,
Michelob
my
Ultras,
iPad dropped
but
out.
mostly just White Claws, beers, from what I can remember.
And was anyone within this sort of initial group that we're talking about here drinking any more or less than anybody else?
I don't believe so, no.
And during this sort of initial period with these initial people, how would you describe sort of the mood and demeanor within?
Yeah, everyone was having a good time. It was Brian's birthday, so, we were there just to have fun.
And at any point in time with this sort of initial group, did you see anybody go to any other area of the house beyond sort of the kitchen, dining room area?
No.
Now, at some point, did members of this sort of initial group, did they leave the house at some point over the course of the evening?
Yes.
And who left first? And who left first and about what time?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly who left at what point, but I know that Catherine, Duty, Emily Fabiano, Mary, Ken, and Courtney Alba left. I would say, and Colin left like before midnight.
And did they all leave around the same time, or did they leave at sort of staggered portions?
I would say staggered times.
Now, with reference to Colin Albert, do you know about what time he left?
I would probably say 11:30, 11:45.
And do you have any idea sort of how Colin, similar to what I asked about the other
Mhm.
young ladies, do you have any recollection as far as how he got there or how he left or anything like that?
I'm not quite sure. No.
But do you recall specifically seeing him leave from the house?
Yes.
And which door would he have left from?
I'm not sure exactly what door, but I know someone did pick him up, but I'm not sure who did. So
And so when it comes to the front door of Fairview Road, there's two doors in the front area of the house.
yes.
And as far as with respect to either of those two doors, you don't remember him leaving from some other door of the house, correct?
Correct.
So if he left or when he left, it would have been from one of those two front doors.
Yes.
Now, at some point, at least after Ms. Kent, Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Duty, and Ms. Alba left, did people that lived at the house or other people sort of come back to the house?
Yes.
And about what time was it?
I'm not too sure, but I would say a little after midnight.
And who were the first people sort of to arrive in this, we'll call them sort of the second?
I don't remember who came, like who was first, who was second, like that, but I know who came, but I don't know what order.
And who were the people that came?
Yeah, so it was Nicole Albert, Brian Albert, Brian Jr.'s parents, Matt McCabe, Jennifer McCabe, Brian Higgins, and that's it. And Caitlin Albert, sorry.
Okay. And so when they came back, as far as the other four young women that you were talking about, they had already left, is that correct?
Yes.
And Colin Albert, was he still there when those people came back?
He left as well.
And so Brian Albert Sr. and Cole Albert, those were Brian Albert Jr.'s parents.
Correct, yes.
We're familiar with them, obviously, prior to January 28th.
Yes.
And you mentioned Jennifer and Matthew McCabe, is that correct?
Yes.
And were you familiar with them prior to January 12th?
Yes.
And how are you familiar with them?
I'm through Brian Jr., just hanging out with them a few times, so just know them through the family.
And so through the family, well, my next question is, what, if any, relationship do they have to your friend Brian Albert Jr. that you?
They are his aunt and uncle.
And then with respect to Brian Hayes, is that someone that you knew prior to January 20th?
I did not know.
You met him the first time that night at the therapy.
Correct, yes.
And when they came into the house, this sort of second group, where was it that they went and sort of congregated around the house?
Yeah, we all were still in the same room in the family, the floor plan, which was the kitchen and the dining room area. Yeah.
At any point in time, well, let me ask you this, they come sometime shortly around or after midnight, is that fair to say?
Yes.
About how long after they arrived, or about what time was it that you left the house for the evening?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
At some point you went home that night?
Yes.
What time was it?
I would say give or take like 1:45.
And so between the time that they came back to the house around 12:15 or so,
Mhm.
between that and 1:45, how would you describe sort of the mood and the demeanor in the house at that time?
It was still all the same. Everyone was having fun, hanging out.
Music still playing, people drinking, having a good time?
Yes.
And over the course of this time, as far as the group that you talked about that was in the kitchen and dining room area, did you see any of those people go anywhere else in the house?
I mean, to the bathroom, but I know at one point Mr. Albert, Brian's Jr.'s dad, took upstairs to let the dog out back. But he just opened the back door and watched them from the door and brought him right back upstairs. So that was the only time he like went upstairs. But
And as far as the kitchen dining room area,
Mhm.
do you recall sort of how people were situated around that area during the time that the second group was there?
yeah, we were all sitting in like the kitchen table. It's like a square table, so we're all just hanging out around there. Some at like the island in the kitchen, but mostly all just there together.
Do you recall specifically, I know we're talking over 2 years ago, do you recall specifically where people were within that area around the table?
I don't know.
Do you recall where you were?
I was sitting like in the corner, so I could see like the island, the kitchen table, like the front door and like the windows, I guess. Yeah.
Where you were seated around the table, could you see the front door?
Yes.
And so beyond the people that you'd already talked about being in that kitchen dining room area in that second group,
Mhm.
did anybody else come into the house that night while you were there?
No.
And at the time on January 28, 2022, were you familiar with either a person named John O'Keefe or a person named Karen Reed?
No.
And at any point in time, not knowing them, did you see anybody else come into the house while you were there between that 12:15 and 1:45 minutes?
No one else came in. No.
Now, do you recall who was sort of around you where you were at the table? Immediately around you.
I would say Jennifer McCabe, Sarah Levinson, Caitlin. I can remember like sitting at the table like with me. Yeah.
Now, at some point in the evening, let me ask you this: what if any sort of plans did you have as far as how you were getting home?
Yeah. I did text my brother to see if he could pick me up on his way home with his friend, on their way home to come pick me up, which they did.
Which of your two brothers was that?
My brother Ryan.
So you texted Ryan to see if he could come pick you up?
Yep.
And did you have to give him like, an address or anything like that, or how did you explain to him where you were?
I just said I was at Brian Jr.'s house, if he could pick me up.
Was that somewhere that your brother had picked you up from on prior occasions?
Yes.
And about what time, if you know, did you send that text to your brother about getting picked up?
I'd probably say a little after, probably like 15 minutes after midnight. Yep.
And as far as the other people in that second group that you were talking about,
Mhm.
did you reach out to Ryan to get picked up? Were those other people there?
Yes.
And you indicated that your brother then came to the house at some point?
Yes, he did.
And about how long after you texted him did he arrive? If you know?
I'm not quite sure.
And when he arrived, did he come into the house or did he reach out to you in any way to let him know?
He just texted. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Did he reach out to you at any point to let you know that he was?
Yes, he did text me saying that he was outside.
And upon receiving that text, where did you go?
I went out through the front door.
Now, before you went out through the front door, what if any conversation? Well, let me strike that as far as conversation. But who, if anyone, did you speak to about the fact that your brother was outside the house?
Yeah, I just mentioned saying my brother's outside. I do remember someone or a few,
I want to hear the answer first.
just a few people saying, "Oh, just have your brother come in." So I went outside, and it was my brother in the passenger seat, his friend Ricky, and then his ex-girlfriend Heather. I asked them if they wanted to come in. They said no.
I'm going to let that stand. The next question.
So you go outside to You go outside to where your brother lives, right?
Yes.
And you recall which of the two front doors you used to go outside?
I use the front door.
Front door is the one with the brick steps, is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
You come down the brick steps, go down the walkway. Do you recall how you came down to where your brother was?
I walked down the steps through the little path, and then down the driveway, and they were parked right in front of the driveway.
So they were parked right at the end of the driveway?
Yes.
And what kind of vehicle was this that you came up?
It was Ricky's pickup truck, a Ford F-150.
And you mentioned that there were 3 people in the truck, is that correct?
Yes.
Where were they seated within the truck?
Ricky was driving his truck. Ryan was in the passenger seat, and then Heather was in the back seat.
You mentioned that Heather is Ryan's ex-girlfriend, is that correct?
Correct.
Were they dating at this time?
At that time, yes.
Now, with regard to Ricky is someone who's a close friend of your brother, is that correct?
Yes.
You know him pretty well?
Yep.
As you get to the truck, do you recall how it was that you were speaking to your brother Ryan? Was it sort of through an open window? Did you open a door? Or how were you communicating?
He rolled down his window.
And when you came out to the truck at the end of the driveway, what, if any, other vehicles did you see in the area of the house on Fifth?
Well, before when I went outside, I did notice another vehicle before my brother pulled up.
So you had gone outside before your brother had, or Ricky had fully sort of parked the truck?
No, he was like fully outside already, and then I went out, and it was just Ricky's truck.
And so at some point later, there was another vehicle that came up?
Prior. Correct.
And can you describe that vehicle for the jury? Sort of what did it look like? What kind of vehicle was it?
Yeah, it was a black SUV.
And had you ever seen that vehicle before?
No.
And you go up to the truck and you're talking to your brother, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, with regard to about how long period of time were you talking with your brother next to the truck?
I would say maybe 3 minutes max, not even.
And did you invite your brother and his friends inside the house?
Yes.
How did they respond?
They said, no, we just want to go home. And then I was like, I'll find out another ride home.
And so that brings me to my next question. As far as arrangements for you coming home, was there any, prior to you coming out of the house, was there any talk or discussion about how you would get home if you didn't go home?
Yeah, Matt McCabe and Jennifer did offer to drive me home if I didn't want to go home with my brother. So I just stayed and then took their offer.
So you decided you wanted to stay and took them up on their offer?
Correct, yes.
And in addition to yourself, who if anyone else, went home from the residence on Fairview with you guys?
It was me and Sarah Levinson.
Now, if I could bring you back to that period of time when you're outside, the vehicle that you were talking about, where is that in relation to the pickup truck that Ricky saw?
Well, it was like the SUV wasn't there when my brother was there. It was like before. Like when I was inside, I noticed it. Yeah.
And so at the time that you were talking to your brother, the pickup truck, was the SUV still there?
I don't believe so, no.
And so where was that SUV parked in relation to where the truck was?
So when I noticed, looking out the window, I did notice the SUV in front of the mailbox, and then pulled up a little bit in front of the yard, and then stopped, and then pulled up again towards the flagpole.
So you saw it in sort of 3 different locations at the time that you were seeing it?
Correct, yes.
And again, where were you in relation to the vehicle at the time that you made these observations?
I was inside at the dining room table, looking out the window.
And at any point in time, did you see anybody come out of that?
I did not know.
And at any point in time, did you see any sort of, well, when you came out initially to, or when you were looking out and when you came out, do you recall anything about the weather and sort of what it was doing at that point?
It was, I would say like flakes of snow, a little dust on the ground.
And so from the dust on the ground, from either the SUV or the pickup truck that Ricky was driving, did you see any sort of like imprints in the snow from tires or anything like that?
I don't recall.
You don't recall if there was that much snow or what it was?
Correct.
And as far as anywhere in and around where you had seen the SUV at either of the 3 spots that you saw it, did you see any sort of like footprints in the snow or on the ground or anything like that? And did you see inside of the vehicle, see anybody inside at any point in time?
No.
And you never saw anybody get out of that vehicle at any of the 3 different points where you saw it parked, correct?
I did not know.
When you saw the vehicle parked at those 3 sort of separate different locations, was the vehicle on? Was it running, if you could tell?
I'm not sure, no.
May I approach?
Yes.
Nagel, I'm going to direct your attention to what's previously marked as Exhibit 71, 72, and 74.
Okay.
Right now, I'm just going to ask you to take a look at those and look up when you're finished. And at some point, I may ask you to use this, which is the laser pointer. Press on that button and point it up at the screen. Okay?
Okay.
So first, if you could just look at 71, 72, and 73.
All set.
Generally, with respect to those three photographs, do you recognize what's depicted in them?
Yes.
What do you recognize?
That it's my friend Brian Albert Jr.'s house.
Is that roughly what the house looked like at the time of January 28th, 29th, 2022?
Correct. Yes.
I could ask you to flip just back to the first one that I showed you, Exhibit 71. And Your Honor, with the court's permission, may I publish that to the jury at this time?
Okay.
And so, Ms. Nagel, directing your attention up to the screen above you, sorry, to your right. This is what you have before you as Exhibit 71, is that correct?
Yes.
You could, using the laser pointer that's on the desk in front of you, if you could direct the jury's attention to the door that you were talking about that she came out in order to come down and talk to your brother.
Yes. That one right there.
Now, with respect to Britney's truck, when you came out to speak with your brother Ryan, where was the truck parked?
The truck was parked right here.
And with respect to that vehicle, the black SUV, where that vehicle was initially when you saw it? Is that visible in this photograph?
Yes.
And if you could direct your attention to where that. Thank you. If I could draw your attention to the next executive session to flip to Exhibit 72 in this gentleman, if I can have that on. Again, what's up on the screen is that what you have before you as Exhibit 72.
Yes.
Now, the second position that you indicated you observed that black SUV in with relation to the house, if you could, using the laser pointer, draw the jury's attention where that would be in this photograph.
Objection, sidebar, Your Honor.
All right. Jurors, feel free to stand up.
They're all live pants on fire. No verdict yet for Lola's mum? Oh.
So again, Ms. Nagel, directing your attention up to what's up on the screen is Exhibit 72. You indicated in your testimony that you saw the vehicle from inside the house at 3 different points, correct?
Yes.
You indicated the first point, the last photograph is the second point that you saw the vehicle in.
Is your brother
in the
thin?
photograph?
Yes.
Where's he?
Just direct your attention to that second point was it you saw.
Oh.
If I could ask you just to flip to the next exhibit, number 73. And we'd like to have that up. And Ms. Nagel, with regard to the third point, or the third different location that you observed that black SUV on that morning.
Look how
is that
far
the
that
home
flagpole is
Yes.
off the edge of the
And
road.
again, using the laser pointer, if you could direct your attention where you observed it at the third point that you observed the black SUV. Thank you. That's all with this, Ms. Gilman, you can take it.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Nagel, you speak with your brother outside, and then at some point after a couple minutes come back inside, is that correct?
Yes.
And the people that you had mentioned that were in the kitchen and dining room area, were they still in that area?
Yes.
And at some point over the course of the evening, things eventually start to wind down and people are leaving the house. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you recall what order it was that people left the house on them?
I'm not quite too sure. No.
And with respect to yourself, you indicated that you left with Miss Levinson and the McKays, correct?
Yes.
And do you recall who, if anyone else, was present in the home when you left?
I'm not sure. No.
And so when you left, how was it that you came out of the residence at that point?
Out the front door.
Same front door that you had indicated earlier.
So let's move on with which door, please. Go ahead.
You come out from that door. Where was it that you went?
Went into Matt and Jennifer's car.
Do you recall anything about the car, what type of car it was, or?
It was an SUV, but I don't know what kind it was.
And where was that vehicle parked when you went over to it?
I was in the driveway.
And do you recall sort of how you came from the front door to the driveway?
Just walked on through the pathway in the front yard and then out the door.
So sort of along the brick path through the driveway to the car.
Yes.
Recall when you got in the car, where it was you were seated or where anyone else was seated in the car?
Yeah, it was Matt driving, Jennifer in the front, and then me behind Matt, and then Sarah next to me in the back behind Jen.
Now, after you get in the car, about how long was it before the car backs out of the driveway?
I'm not quite too sure.
And what, if any, conversation do you recall as far as going on during that period of time prior to the car backing out?
Do you want to put up
I don't know. I don't
jelly
remember.
sandwich?
Now, when the vehicle leaves from the house, at some point it's going by the house, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall which side of the McCabe's vehicle was facing towards the house? And by that, I mean, was it the side you were sitting on or the side that Ms. Levinson was?
The side that Sarah was sitting on.
And that was the passenger side, is that correct?
Yes.
And at the time that the vehicle was driving by the house, what is it that you were doing at that time?
We were having a conversation. So Jen was kind of facing towards the back, towards me and Sarah. We were talking about making PB and jelly sandwiches because there was some peanut butter and jelly and bread in the car. So talking about that. But yeah.
And so with Ms. McCabe, she's in the front seat, is that right?
Yes.
And she's talking to you and Ms. Levinson, correct?
Yes.
And how is it that she's positioned, talking to you in relation to the seat that she's in?
Yeah, I would say she was kind of turned back a little bit towards us in the back seat.
And what I'm asking is, she turned towards sort of the center of the vehicle, or she turned towards the window next to it?
Towards the center of the vehicle.
And you're speaking to her and to Ms. Levinson, correct?
Yes.
Which direction are you?
Facing towards Sarah and
You
Jen.
need a brush.
And which direction is Sarah facing as you're having this conversation?
Towards me.
And as you drive by,
Making biscuits
What, if
with
anything,
the bed beside me. Can you see him?
I did notice behind Sarah and Jen, I did notice something out of the ordinary, like a black blob in the ground by the flagpole.
Him.
and from where you were
Are you making
situated in the
biscuits?
car, do you know sort of what was the lighting like over in that area of the yard that you saw the fire flame?
It was pretty dark out, but the snow was kind of heavy at that point, so couldn't really see too much. But
There was snow coming down at that point?
yes,
And if you know about where in relation to the flagpole was this black object that you saw?
I'd probably say like close to like the street, but like in their lawn, right, kind of in front of the flagpole next to it.
Now, I'm sorry to do this again, but Ms. Gilman, Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would just ask that exhibit number 72 be back up on the screen.
Okay.
You happy now? Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I should actually ask for exhibit number 73.
My bed is covered in.
Now, Ms.
Sorry,
Gilman, I'd like
Rox.
to ask the area where you saw this black object.
So they don't get
that
dirty
area
paws
become
and
photographed.
Yes.
fluff and hair all over it. And they get changed every day.
Direct your attention to where, as specific as you can be, where you observed this.
I do like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches too. Not with chili though. Yeah, you don't often see this one. He's Papa Grumpy.
Now, as the vehicle is going by the house,
He's
as
my-
you make that observation,
he's the
what, if
oldest
anything,
one.
do you say in the backseat of the car?
I did say
He's,
out loud. I was like, I think I might have saw something. I'm not kind of sure what it was.
Big fatty Boomba.
I was also intoxicated drinking, so didn't really know what it was, what I saw. But Sarah was like, "What, Julie?" And I was like, "I don't know what it was." And then that was kind of really it.
And that was sort of the end of the conversation in reference to that. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Let me have a moment, Your Honor.
He's the one that's got the left side of his face. He's damaged the facial nerve, so it droops. It looks like he's had a stroke.
Ms. Nagel, if I could just ask you one more question. With regard to the object that you saw in that area, the flagpole, can you describe how big an object it was that you saw?
I'd probably say like 5 or 6 feet, like long, but
And at the time that you're driving by at that point, you could tell what it was.
not quite sure. No, it was just too quick to tell.
Oh, this is the black blob.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Good afternoon, Ms. Nagel.
Good afternoon.
On January 28th of 2022, you got to 34 Fairview Road at about 6 or 7 p.m.,
Correct.
and you didn't leave until 1:30 or 2 a.m., correct?
1:45 around there. Yeah.
Okay. So you were there approximately 8 hours?
I'm not really sure about the math, but I guess so.
A lot of hours.
Yep.
Other than the people who lived at the home and slept there, you were one of the ones to spend the most time there that night, correct?
I'm not sure.
You got there early.
Is that any good? That
You
I
got there
did
early,
start
correct?
it, but I just
Yes.
And you left late,
there's no
correct?
point continuing it.
Yeah.
And you were inside almost the entire time, correct?
Yes.
So you came in contact with just about everybody who came into that house, correct?
Yes.
And you know that everyone who was in the house that night is a witness in this case, correct?
Yes.
The only time you went outside before you left was when your brother Ryan arrived, correct?
Yes.
And even when you went outside, you stayed on the Albert property, did you not?
Yes, I did.
And you had some contact with your brother out there, correct?
Yes.
And you know that he's a witness in this case as well, correct?
I do. Yes.
And despite having contact with all of these witnesses in this case, Trooper Proctor didn't talk to you on January 29th, did he?
No.
Or the rest of January or the whole month of February, correct?
Correct.
He didn't interview you about these statements that you're making today until October of 2022, correct?
If that's what it says on paper, yeah.
October 5 of 2022, does that sound right?
I don't know.
It was many months after January 29th, correct?
Yes.
Over 8 months after John O'Keefe was found dead on Brian Albert's lawn, correct?
If that was the time frame, yes.
And when he spoke to you on October 5, Trooper Proctor asked you for the first time to remember the details from 8 months before that, correct?
If that was the time frame, yes.
And you are good friends with Sarah Levinson, correct?
Yes.
Certainly over the last 2+ years, the two of you have discussed what happened on January 28th and 29th, correct?
Yeah.
And you know that Michael Proctor only interviewed you after the defense in this case filed a motion to get Sarah Levinson's name from the DA's office.
Objection,
correct?
The objection sustained. Next question.
So you've known Brian Jr. since your sophomore or junior year, correct?
Yes.
And you actually graduated Canton High School in 2016, correct?
Correct.
But you've known him since 2014 or 15,
Yes.
9 or 10 years?
Yep.
He's a good friend.
Yes.
He's a close friend of yours, correct?
Yes.
And on January 28th of 2022, you were one of a select group of his friends who went to his house to celebrate his birthday the following night, right?
Yes.
And you don't go to somebody's house who you graduated high school with 10 years previously to celebrate their birthday if they're just an acquaintance, correct?
Objection.
I don't know.
I'll let the answer stand.
When you got there, other than Sarah Levinson and yourself, everyone at the house was a member of the Albert family, correct?
Can you rephrase the question, please?
Sure. You and Sarah Levinson are not actually Alberts, correct?
Correct. Yes.
But everybody else at the house was when you got there.
No.
You named Brian Albert Jr., correct?
Hmm. Yes.
Julie Albert,
I did not know.
Nicole Albert,
I did. Yes.
Caitlin Albert,
Yes.
Brian Albert Sr. might have been there.
Yes.
And you knew the Alberts well enough to know the names that we just discussed, correct?
Yes.
And in addition to that, the McCabe's were related to the Alberts, correct?
Yes.
And you knew Jennifer and Matt McCabe before that night, right?
I'm sorry, can you?
Yes. Before January 28th of 2022, you knew Jennifer and Matt McCabe.
Yes.
You had been to their home before,
Who's home?
the McCabe's home.
I don't recall.
You'd driven their daughters around, correct?
I have, yes.
And you had actually pet sat for the McCabe's golden doodle, correct?
Correct,
At
yes.
their home.
Yes.
And so the answer to my previous question is certainly you've been to their home, correct?
Yes.
And their golden doodle was named Bailey, correct?
Yes.
In fact, you knew Jennifer McCabe well enough that you called her by a nickname, correct?
Yes.
What was the nickname that you referred to Jennifer McCabe by?
JJ?
And you knew that JJ was Nicole Albert's sister, correct?
Yes.
Now, on the night of January 28th into the 29th, you saw Brian Albert Sr. After he came back to 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
You were on the first floor of that residence the whole night, were you not?
Yes.
And you have a specific memory of Brian Albert Sr. walking Chloe through the first floor of that house, correct?
Yes.
When Brian Albert Sr. was walking Chloe through the first floor of that house, he maintained control of Chloe's collar, did he not?
He did, yes.
You like dogs, right?
I do.
But you didn't pat Chloe, correct?
I have, yes.
That night.
No.
You've never pet sat for Chloe, correct?
No.
But you did hang out regularly at the Albert home for years because of your friendship with Brian Jr., correct?
Yes.
Which meant that you have had contact with Chloe over the years, correct?
Yes.
You would agree with me that Chloe's a very different dog than Bailey, the McCabe's golden doodle, correct?
Objection.
Sustain.
Bailey is a friendly dog, is he not?
Objection.
Sustain.
Chloe is not friendly, correct?
Objection.
I'll let you have that. Can you answer that?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, Chloe is not a friendly dog.
I mean, I would say so, yeah.
It was clear to you that she is not good with people, correct?
I'm not aware.
On January 28th and 29th, while you were in the kitchen dining room area, you'll agree with me that there was music playing for most of the night, correct?
For a decent amount, yes.
And that area of the house has surround sound speakers?
Yes.
Everybody was in a good mood?
Correct, yes.
Talking?
Yes.
Drinking?
Yep.
Singing?
I don't remember.
Dancing?
Yeah.
And all the action was in the kitchen dining room area, correct?
Yes.
And that was where your attention was mainly focused, was it not?
It was, yes.
Because that's where everybody was.
Yes.
You were not monitoring the basement door, were you?
No.
And you never went down to the basement, correct?
No, I did not.
Prior to January 28th of 2022, you knew who Colin Albert was, correct?
Yes.
You knew that he was your friend Brian Jr.'s first cousin, right?
Correct.
When you were at 34 Fairview, you did see Colin there, correct?
I did, yes.
You believe that he got there shortly after Nicole Albert, Caitlin Albert, and Julie Albert left the residence, correct?
At some point, yeah.
And you say at some point, that's because you're not sure of the exact time when he got there, correct?
Correct.
You're also not sure of the exact time when he left, correct?
I would say 11:30, 11:45, around there.
He wasn't somebody who was important to you that night, was he?
Not really, no.
You weren't paying attention to monitor when he came or when he left, were you?
No. I said no.
You never physically watched him walk out the door, correct?
I don't remember.
You can't even say which door he walked out, correct?
I don't know.
You never saw him get picked up.
I did not know.
You never saw any car arrive for him.
I don't know.
And you never saw how he got home.
No.
Now, on January 29th of 2022, after midnight, your brother Ryan Nagel and you lived in the same home, correct?
At the time, yes.
At about 12:15 to 12:20, you texted your brother Ryan for a ride home, correct?
If that's what the timestamp says, yes.
Do you have a screenshot of that text message?
Somewhere, yes.
Did you provide that to any investigator or assistant district attorney?
I don't remember.
Do you recall whether any assistant district attorney or investigator asked you for a copy of that text message?
I don't know.
Is that text message still on your phone?
I don't know.
Did you delete that text message?
I don't know.
Objection, Your Honor.
So let's move this along, Mr. Egan.
When you texted Ryan that night, you were contacting him because you thought it was an appropriate time for you to leave, correct?
Yeah.
How long did it take your brother Ryan to get to the Albert home after that text message?
I don't know.
Was it an hour?
I don't think so, no.
Was it a half hour?
I do not know.
So you have no idea how long it took him to get there and how long you stayed after you texted him, correct?
I don't know, no.
By the time you're texting Ryan, Ms. Nagel, how much do you think you would have to drink since 6 or 7 p.m.?
A decent amount.
Would you say that another word for it would be a lot?
No.
What were you drinking that night?
Michelob Ultras.
And how many did you have?
I don't know, I don't remember.
Did you bring your own Michelob Ultras to the party?
I don't know.
You don't remember whether you brought any beer to the party?
I don't know.
Where was the beer?
I either brought it or I don't know, I don't remember. It was 2.5 years ago.
Where was it within the home?
In the fridge.
You have no memory of like running out of beer that night, correct?
I don't remember, no.
There appeared to be plenty of beer to go around, correct?
For myself, yeah.
Between the time that you texted your brother Ryan and the time he arrived, it's fair to say that you changed your mind about going home with him, correct?
Yes.
You changed your mind while you were still inside the Albert home, correct?
I did not say that, no.
Well, I'm asking you now.
No.
You changed your mind only after you left the residence and went out to talk to him?
Yes.
You claimed on direct examination that he was the one that said, why don't you stay longer?
No, that's not what I said.
That said that you wanted to stay longer.
If myself?
So you told him that you wanted to stay longer, correct?
Yeah. I did.
And when you went outside, you learned that he had come and his friend, is it Ricky D'Antuono? How do you pronounce the name?
It's Ricky D'Antano.
Ryan had come in Ricky D'Antano's gray Ford F-150 truck, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I butchered that. When you went outside, you saw that your brother Ryan was in Ricky D'Antano's gray Ford F-150 truck, correct?
Correct, yes.
He was sitting in the front passenger seat of the truck, correct?
Ryan, yes.
The truck was parallel to the Albert's residence, correct?
Yes.
It was not parked in the driveway.
No.
The truck was facing toward Chapman Street, going up the hill, correct?
Yes.
So Ryan's seat would have been the closest to the property, right? Passenger seat
I'm sorry, closest to the what?
to the Albert home.
Yes, correct.
You walked down the driveway to get to the truck, correct?
Yes.
His SUV was in the driveway at that point, was it not?
Yes.
And at that point, I want to go back, if I can, to when you were inside the house, because you had testified that when you were inside, you looked out the window and you saw a different view, correct?
I did, yes.
That was a black SUV.
Yes.
And you've testified that you saw that from within the house, you saw that black SUV move 2 times, correct?
More than 2.
So it was at first parked near the mailbox,
Yes.
and then you saw it move forward, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then you saw it move forward again to near the flagpole, correct?
Yes.
And was there a third time that you saw it move?
I saw it pull up, stopped, pulled up again, stopped, pulled up again by the flagpole, stopped. That's all I saw.
All right, and that was all while you were inside the house, correct?
Correct, yes.
And, when it was pulling up like that, Ms. Nagel, it wasn't going 80 miles an hour, correct?
It was not, no.
It wasn't going 50 miles an hour, correct?
I mean, I didn't have a radar gun on me, but no.
It was going at a safe speed, correct?
Yeah.
It wasn't going a very long distance, correct? Each time?
No.
It's a matter of several feet, correct? Adjusting its position?
Just pulled up and stopped a few times.
Right. And as you saw it pull up and stop a few times from within the home, its direction was always forward, correct?
From what I saw, yes.
You never saw that car back up, correct?
No.
You certainly never saw it speed at a crazy pace backwards, correct?
Objection.
Objection sustained.
Now, I'd asked you about the text messages that you had with your friend Ryan. And you could not recall whether any investigator or assistant district attorney asked you for screenshots of that, correct?
My friend or my brother?
Did I say friend?
You did, yes.
Thank you for correcting me. I did mean your brother Ryan. Thank you. And I appreciate the fact that you're paying attention. At least one of us is.
Yeah.
So with what I asked you about the screenshots of the text messages that you had with your brother Ryan and whether any investigator or assistant district attorney had asked you for them, correct?
I don't remember.
You didn't remember, right. But somebody did ask you for a screenshot, correct?
Yes.
Who was that?
JJ McCabe.
And by JJ, you mean Jennifer McCabe?
Correct, yes.
When JJ asked you, do you remember when it was that JJ, Jennifer McCabe, asked you for a copy of those screenshots?
I do not remember, no.
Did you provide them to Jennifer McCabe?
I did, yes.
Did Jennifer McCabe, when she asked you to provide her with those screenshots, claim that she was an investigator in this case?
Objection.
You can answer that.
Do you mind repeating that, please?
Sure. When Jennifer McCabe, or as you called her, JJ, asked you for screenshots of the text messages that you had with your brother Ryan, did Jennifer McCabe tell you that she was investigating this case?
No.
And you have no memory of providing those screenshots to any investigator other than Jennifer McCabe, correct?
I don't remember, no.
Okay. Now, when you're ultimately leaving the residence, it's about, I think you said 1:45 a.m. is your best guess?
Yes.
You walked out which door?
The front door.
And that would be the one to the left, right? The real front door of the house.
Yes, correct.
That door faces right to the front lawn, correct?
Yes,
You left with Jennifer McCabe, Matthew McCabe, and Sarah Levinson, correct?
correct.
And you all went out the same door, correct?
I know what door I went out. I don't know about, it could have been. I don't know if they went through the side, but yeah.
Hello, Miss
Fair to say
Mandy.
that walking out the front door of that house,
That's
you saw
really
nobody
doesn't-
on that front lawn in front of you, correct?
When I walked out,
None of the other three people yelled out that they saw a body, correct?
correct.
You got into Jennifer McCabe's vehicle, correct?
Yes,
And you were seated just behind the
There's
driver,
actually just
correct?
DMing you on
And the driver was Matthew McCabe.
Discord.
correct?
correct.
Jennifer McCabe was in the front passenger seat,
Yes,
and Sarah Levinson was sitting next to you behind the front passenger, correct?
yes,
Matthew McCabe backed the car out of the driveway and then headed up toward Chapman Street, correct?
yes,
That meant that the passenger side of the vehicle was closest to the Albert home, correct?
yes,
So that meant that Sarah Levinson and Jennifer McCabe were in the seats that were closest to the Albert home, correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Sure. As Matthew McCabe was driving that vehicle alongside the Albert property line, Jennifer McCabe in the front passenger seat and Sarah Levinson in the rear passenger seat were the closest two people to the Albert home, correct?
Yes,
And as the car passed in front of the Albert home, you saw no tire tracks in the snow, correct?
I don't remember.
You claim now to have seen a black object in the snow, correct?
Yes,
Object is the term that you used when you were finally interviewed about this matter, correct?
a black object, yes.
Right. You never before ever told any investigator that what you actually saw was a black blob, correct?
I don't remember.
And you also never, ever told any investigator that this black object that you described was actually 5 feet or 6 feet long, correct?
Correct, yes.
The very first time you're now mentioning this testimony
They'll plug this
that
in.
this black object, as you describe it, was actually 5 or 6 feet long was just today, after 12 noon on May 14th of 2024, correct?
Lally asked me
Is that-
how big it was, so I just told him right now, yeah.
Yeah, Lally, when you say Lally, you mean Mr. Lally.
Yes, Mr. Lally, correct, yes.
Mr. Lally just asked you during this trial, again,
Yeah.
right before this jury. That's the first time you've ever been asked or ever given an answer as to how big that object was, correct?
Not necessarily, no.
Did you review any report that was taken when the investigators spoke to you regarding this case before taking the stand today?
No.
You've never testified in a grand jury regarding this case, correct?
Correct.
You've never testified in any hearing regarding this case, correct?
In this hearing, in this case,
Besides today.
no.
And you would agree with me that it is nowhere on record that this black object that you talk about was ever 5 or 6 feet long prior to telling the jury that today.
Objection.
You have to ask that differently, Mr. Yannetti.
Today, this afternoon, is the first time that you've provided testimony or information to any official regarding this case, that the object was 5 or 6 feet long.
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
Who did you tell prior to today?
About what?
Okay, I thought we were talking about the fact that you now testified that this black object was 5 or 6 feet long. You recall that?
Today, yes.
And my question to you was, you've never mentioned that this black object was 5 or 6 feet long until the last hour or so when Mr. Lally questioned you about it, correct?
Yes.
Now, when you were passing the property, you did not think it was a body.
At the time, no.
You claim that you told everyone in the car that you saw something, correct?
Correct.
And your friend Sarah said what? Or something to that effect, correct?
Correct.
And there was no further conversation after that, correct?
Not that I can remember. No.
And you didn't think that it was a person who was in trouble, correct?
Objection.
Did you think that? At what time, Mr.?
When you're leaving the property, after leaving the house at 1:45 a.m. and getting into the McCabe vehicle and passing the Albert lawn, you did not think that you saw a person who was in trouble, correct?
No.
Or a person that may have needed help, correct?
I don't know. No.
And you were right there, correct? Passing the property?
I was passing the property,
Not
yes.
as close to the property as your friend Sarah Levinson, but you were in the back seat on the driver's side, correct?
Correct.
And you were in a car such that if you thought that you saw something that could have been a person, all you had to do was tell the driver, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you tell the driver that you saw somebody who was in trouble?
Well, I said it out loud in the car.
So is it your testimony now that you said out loud in the car, there's a person who's in trouble?
That's not what I said, no.
You didn't mention a person at all in the car, correct?
No.
You did not tell Matthew McCabe, hey, stop the car, correct?
I did not know.
If you had seen a person in the snow lying there, you would have done something about it, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
You didn't ask Matthew McCabe to stop.
No.
You didn't ask him to back up.
Nope.
You didn't ask him to check on whatever it was.
Objection, Your
I'll allow that.
No.
You had your phone with you, correct?
Yeah.
The phone was working, correct?
I don't remember.
You used that phone to text your brother.
An hour and a half before.
Are you testifying today that your phone was completely out of charge?
I don't remember, no.
Text your good friend Brian Albert Jr. to tell him that you saw somebody lying on his front lawn?
Did I text him
Yes.
that night?
As you are supposedly seeing this black object,
Objection.
the immediate aftermath of that, did you text Brian Albert Jr. to tell him about that black object?
So in that form, it's sustained. Ask it differently, Mr. Yannetti.
You had your friend Sarah Levinson with you, correct?
I did in the car, yes.
You knew she was a nurse, correct?
Yeah.
You didn't tell your friend Sarah that you just saw somebody lying in the snow during a blizzard who might need some help, correct?
I did not know.
That Brian Jr.'s father was a police officer, correct?
Objection, Your
So let's move this. Are you just about done with this line of questioning? I'll give you a little bit more.
Just a couple more questions. and
Okay,
I'm done.
go ahead.
You knew that he was a police officer, correct?
Yes.
And obviously a first responder as a police officer, right?
Yeah.
And you knew that that was Jennifer McCabe's brother-in-law, correct?
Yes.
And Jennifer McCabe was in the car with you, correct?
Yes.
You didn't tell Jennifer McCabe or JJ to call her brother-in-law, correct?
No.
The fact of the matter is, you did nothing, right?
Yeah.
And that's because you did not see a body on that lawn, correct?
Objection.
Is that true? Can you answer that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
You didn't see a body on that lawn.
I mean, I don't know what I saw, but I saw an object.
You were drinking for hours.
Is that a question?
Yes, you were drinking for hours. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And you were intoxicated as you were leaving that home.
Objection.
Were you?
Yes.
You were drunk, right?
Some would say, yeah.
You would say.
Yeah.
You believe that except for Matt McCabe, who was driving, everybody in the car was drunk, right?
Objection.
I don't know.
I'm going to let that answer stand.
You have previously testified I'm sorry, strike that. You have previously given a statement indicating that you believe that everybody in that car except for Matthew McCabe was drunk. Do you deny that?
I don't remember at this moment.
All right. You told investigators that when Brian Albert Jr. called you the next morning and you found out about the tragedy the previous night, you, quote, put two and two together, correct?
I did, yes.
And when you put two and two together, you did not call the Kent police, correct?
I did not know.
Not call the state police, correct?
Nope.
Not call the district attorney's office.
No.
You would agree with me that you just sat on this revelation, correct?
I would.
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, that's sustained in that form.
And you were not interviewed by any investigator in January, February, March, or any time over the spring or summer of 2022, correct?
I don't remember the time frame, but not right after, no.
And when an investigator finally spoke to you, it was Michael Proctor, correct?
Correct.
He was the one who took your statement on October 12th of 2022, correct?
If that was the date and time, yes.
And that was over 8 months after you were driving past the Albert home at around 2 a.m. while you were drunk and supposedly seeing some black object, correct?
Before 2 a.m., yes.
And you know, Ms. Nagel, that as of October of 2022, the defense had, in this case, had publicly announced that
Objection, Your
nobody
Honor.
had no soft
All right.
body on that car.
So that question's improper. I'm going to strike that question.
No further questions.
All right.
So we're going to break. I have to bring it up.
Okay.
Okay, so jurors, please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into this case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case, please disregard it. Let us know
Oh,
next
crap.
time.
I gotta go out
And
and
we'll see you
make
tomorrow.
sure the other
As far
one's
as
set up.
the-
It's gonna
All
really
rise to the court, please.
You guys, I don't know.
You can stand.
Okay.
Ms. Nagel, you can stand, and then when the last juror goes.
I can go. Okay, got it. Thank you. All right. I shall see you in the next one. Thank you. I'll be back.
Yes. All right, Tori, I haven't really looked at this yet. What time are you gonna do this?
So you can come in and we'll do it right now if you want. Okay.
Your Honor, sorry, may we approach this as a
Sure.
scheduling thing?
Well, counsel, we're still on the case. So why don't you come on up?
Goodbye.
Good, all right.
thanks for stopping in. We hope you will join us again. We all look forward to next time. We get to talk about true crime. Clues. Justice served in an honest fight. True crime tales till the verdict's right. Solving more than just trivial quests, where sentences rule and the defense rests. Our true crime family is great. All types of topics we debate. Smash that like and ring that bell. Hit subscribe, you might as well.